Hello and welcome to episode 176 of the Happy Hearthstone, the longest running Hearthstone podcast in the history of space and time and cards. I'm your host, Andrew Brown. When we last left you, we decided that we were going to take a break from reviewing so many Uldum cards. We've got even more, but we thought we'd see the sights and sounds in Uldum. And I don't know, Steve, like going into that tomb and coming out, I feel different. I don't want to say bad, but it's definitely not better.
Yeah, there were a lot of weird things going in and out of the walls, and I didn't really like it. And then I died for a little bit, and then I got better.
But you came back,
weird.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah,
as long as you come back,
it's good.
There are no downsides to coming back to life after dying.
Yeah.
So
I feel fine. I feel happy.
Well, you are on the right show then, because we are ready to be happy, and I don't think we need to, I was thinking about how we were going to start this show, talking about why we're happy, and Steve, I've never played or wanted to play Hearthstone so much in so long, because there's so much to do right now.
Yeah, and I mean, even, like, the matchups that feel bad don't feel, like, that bad. Like there's some, there's still Control Warrior, there's still Conjurers calling on Giants, but it's still like there's a lot of just different things to do. And like I can't remember, I was actually going back and listening to some of the meta discussions that Ridiculous Hat and I have had on Off Curve over the last couple sets, and like they sounded like we had plenty of decks to talk about, but it wasn't, it was a lot of was like refinements of existing decks. And this is the first time I can remember that like a second set has given us like this many new decks that weren't completely degenerate right off the bat.
Yeah, and that's got to come from trial and error on their part. They've learned from past sets, and they're at a place now where I don't know how they knew so well that these cards, these quests would shake things up so much. But I have hope that it seems like things are going to get progressively more powerful as the year goes on, which seems like the obvious but correct solution, I guess.
Yeah, and I mean, this is the way that it's supposed to be, right? It's not supposed to be that we get 135 new cards and 10 of them see play.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
it's usually how it goes.
That's been kind of the... Yeah, and like, because last time we got quests, it was in the first set, and then that was kind of just there. And like, Gen and Baku were build-arounds in the first set of last year, and then that was just kind of there. And I think waiting until the second set to introduce things like Highlander decks and introduce things like the quests, I think was actually a really good call, because it kind of it forces you to start building different decks, whereas in the first set you're going to do that. You have to. You just lost a whole bunch of cards.
Yeah.
You're going to need to figure out something new to do. Whereas with the second set, like the natural inclination is like, okay, well, let me take this deck that works well and put 2 new cards in it and call it a day. And this set gave us a lot of different ways to build decks and incentives to do that, that makes it feel a lot more fresh than like a non-rotation set has in the past.
Yeah. So I think there's only upside there. I mean, I don't want to jump too far ahead, but the truth is we have tons of cards, so I'm so excited that you're joining us. If you are joining us just for this first episode, or for this second episode as your first, go back and listen to part 1, because we talked about all of the League of Explorers classes in depth, as well as several neutrals. I'm really excited for part 2. Again, we are live on Twitch, so thank you so much to everybody who's joining us live right now, or who's watching this later on YouTube. And thank you, of course, to everyone, the core who are listening to this through podcast. And if you're not joining us in the visual portion, I just have to say that my head cold really, I don't know. I needed to call it a wrap, I guess. But I'm hoping that that's all. Did you run into
Finlay in that tomb? Is that what happened?
Well, he was the one who actually made me feel better. It was weird. His fin was just kind of like, it had this aura on it, and he just kind of, I don't know, he said, and all of a sudden I felt better. So I don't know. I'm good.
What was that? What was that he said?
You know what he said. You can go back and listen.
No, I didn't.
You can listen 2 times. So Go and do that. But honestly, we just have so many cards now to talk about, and I'm more excited than ever because we've gotten to play with a lot of these. They're out there in the wild. So again, if you weren't able to listen to our first one, go back and listen to that. Let's go ahead and hit some of the quick news that was released. There's actually a hot fix that we'll talk about later that happened in game because it has to do with one of the cards we're going to talk about. But the couple other things, we've got the Masters Tour of Seoul that is coming up August 15th through 18th. So these are really exciting to watch. I remember watching Vegas just intently. People have been qualifying for this event for a long time. Grandmasters are going to be there. So this is definitely a time to watch. And this is the first huge event that we have where people could be playing with a lot of new cards, taking some risks, and it should be interesting to see how that goes down. I guess I should ask you, Steve, as you make the dashboards for the the breakdowns of these qualifier events, how much shakeup have you seen so far in the qualifiers that hit for Bucharest?
Not as much as you would think.
Are
but
people
that's
playing
not
it
really
safe?
Yeah, I mean, that's not really super a surprise either because,
Sure.
I mean, if you think about it, like, you're signing up to play Hearthstone for 13 hours, you're probably going to play a deck that you're comfortable with. And,
Yeah.
like, it's hard to know without seeing what other people are bringing, like, what decks are good right now. So I'm seeing a lot of just, like, Cyclone Mage, Freeze Mage. The one big difference is that instead of Bomb Warrior, we're seeing a lot more of the Taunt Control Warrior with Armadillo.
Mm-hmm.
But still a lot of Shark Rogue, still a lot of Control Warrior. We are seeing more diversity at the bottom end. That's kind of the big difference. Like, it was really like the top four classes: Mage, Warrior, Hunter, and Rogue, and that still is the case. But like the bottom five classes aren't like completely gone compared to where it was before. Like if I look at week 5. Like like you see some Shaman and a little bit of Druid, it drops off dramatically.
Mm-hmm.
And now like you see Shamans where you kind of can, Shaman's almost neck and neck with Rogue at this point. And then you have like a drop off for the bottom four classes, but it's not like non-existent. It's like half as much as Shaman, which is good. Will it still be that way in a week? It's hard to say, but we also may see, like after we get some people who are finishing with decks that have new cards in them, that tends to have a follow-on effect for future qualifiers. So
yeah. And I'm sure there are some people, especially for this tour event, who are going to take some risks. I mean, it seems like, spoiler alert, but Reno Mage is pretty powerful since it's already building kind of on the core of Conjurer's Mage. So, if that deck can do well, or if some other archetypes that are either similar or really off the beaten path and just end up, snowballing there, it's probably going to affect those events a lot, I would assume.
Yeah, I think so. And actually, that's one thing that I thought I'd fixed when I ran this the last time, and apparently I didn't, that I'm not tracking the Highlander deck separately. So I'm going to do that when I refresh the dashboard the next time.
Always more to do. You should go check those out.
Yeah.
Links are at offcurve.com, right, for that?
Yes. Yeah, offcurve.com/specialist-meta. And the day of, if this is going to be anything like Las Vegas, the day of Seoul, I have to figure out when it actually starts because that's generally a really busy time for me scrambling to get the dashboard up and running as quickly as possible because we don't get the brackets until the tournament actually starts. So I'm usually spending like round 1 like frantically rewriting code and trying to get the thing to go in. So
yikes.
Yeah.
Well,
luckily I'm on staycation this week, so that's a good thing.
Oh, there you go. Okay, so you got some good time then. Well,
yeah.
And you'll definitely want to check out, like I said, the Masters Tour in Seoul. So it's going to be August 15th through 18th, 6 p.m. It says 6 p.m. to 1 p.m. Pacific each day. Are they covering this for, what is that, 18 hours or something?
I would imagine.
I guess that makes sense, huh?
Yeah, I mean, if there's this much Control Warrior in the meta,
oh gosh, yep.
Then yeah, I can see it taking that long.
Gonna be some
sure.
Elysianas. Thankfully, we're not living in the Baleful Banker Elysiana era, but it can still take a while. And you will be able to get some Twitch drops just from watching it on the official Play Hearthstone stream. you'll get a Saviors of Uldum pack for watching 3 hours and another one for watching an additional 3 hours. So watch for a total of 6 hours. You'll get those 2 packs, and then they'll be doing what they normally do every hour. 1,500 random people get a classic card pack. So free packs will buy my viewership, honestly. And this event in particular is a lot of fun to watch. They've got the official different languages also. If you are hanging out with us and may speak a different language, which I found out some of you are. I'll get to that later this episode. They've got other streams for native languages of Russian, Mandarin, Portuguese, and a bunch of others. So definitely go do that. That's this weekend. And then the other piece of news that we wanted to hit, it wasn't necessarily official Blizzard news, but I'm sure many of you have heard by now that Cora, who you may know who has casted many events, invitationals, dream hacks, and stuff like that. She used to host on Coin Concede podcast. She got a job at Blizzard as an associate game designer on the final design team for Hearthstone. And the girl knows the game insanely well. She's always finishing in Legend. She's always getting really high up there. So I can imagine that she's going to be an incredible addition to the team. And we wish her all the best. We didn't really want to camp out on this too long because most of you probably already know, but we definitely wanted to give our best congratulations to Cora for this.
Yeah, and I mean, I've done enough casting to know that in order to do the casting at the level that she does, and do it as well as she does, you need to know the game really, really intimately. So yeah. I think I'm happy for her. I'm also happy for us because getting someone who knows the game that well on the final design team can only be a good thing for us as well.
It's only going to make things better. So
yeah,
we're all thrilled for Cora. Congrats, Cora, if you do hear this, and definitely send her some congrats on Twitter if you have not yet. So with that, that's all of the things that could possibly delay us from jumping into the most important class that we could begin our conversation about tonight. Because, Steve, we've got to talk about the League of Evils classes. We've seen them before, but we have not seen cards like this before. So I would be amiss if I didn't let you kick off the priestiest of priest cards.
Oh my goodness.
Which are the priest cards.
We're gonna be here for a while. We're starting with this. Good luck, everybody. Settle in.
Normally, I need to save this for last.
This is gonna be the Dr. Boom Mad Genius of card reviews. All right, so priest, activate the obelisk. 1 mana quest. Quest, restore 15 health. Reward obelisk's eye, and the obelisk's eye says restore 3 health. If you targeted a minion, give it +3/+3. So when I played with this, it has been extremely powerful. I think that a lot of the problem, I think that this card will be. I've been seeing it falling out of some lists as the week has gone by. I think that it will come back around because this is really like a control priest list. Like some people were trying it in like a zoo type priest, and I just don't think it works necessarily. Like it's not necessarily the kind of thing where you can put in a lot of low curve like they did in the reveal stream and get that to work consistently with everything else that's out there. And it might just be like, we talked a little bit about how Warrior and Major are warping the meta. And we talked a lot in some of the reviews last week about, well, is this going to beat 2 8/8s on turn 4? And this doesn't, right? Like that's kind of what the problem is right now. It is when it gets going, it's a lot like the Paladin quest where it snowballs and it becomes very difficult to deal with, but it also still, gets countered by Omega Devastator rushing into it. It's still, it's still not 14 damage a lot of the time. So I think that this is very good, and I think this will be a part of a priest for a long time, but it's going to take it a little while to figure out what the right combination of cards is and how to not die to aggro in the process.
Yeah, I think what we've seen so far is that like the decks that run all of the minions that hurt themselves in the beginning give you a better chance of completing the quest early. But I think that it's unideal. It's not ideal to be running those minions. Suboptimal, thank you, to be running those minions in the first place. So it's the thing that a lot of deck builders get in trouble with. It just trying to make something work and trying to figure out what's the right package in order for these things. Because like I look at it, and with I think it's the Tolvir Warden, the 2 mana 2/6 that hurts itself for 3 as a battle cry. Like, if that's not getting us in the right direction, I don't know what cards are going to support this better. So I feel like this quest's place is more in a long-term game where you're actually resolving this quest either mid, but probably more so late game. And then if you've run your opponent out of options, you just start snowballing your minions, because if they don't have removal for what you've got and you start buffing it by +3/+3 every turn, it just can get out of hand really fast. So it seems like it's almost a control priest that really wants to run something like this.
Yeah, and like that was the case when like day one, because of course this is the first thing I'm going to stream, right?
Of course.
And that was the case. Like there was a resurrect priest where you're just kind of, building these things up. The problem is it just, loses to a brawl or it loses to a plague of wrath. So it's like it's a matter of figuring out what the right minions are to be in that list to counter what's in the meta, and that's just going to take the meta actually shaping up.
Yeah.
So I think that this will come around. Like I remember being really, really big on Zarek's Cloning Gallery, and a lot of people were very confused and told me I was nuts. And it took about a month or a month and a half for somebody to figure out Cloning Gallery Priest. But after they did, that deck was pretty good. And once in the third set, it was not a meme anymore.
Yeah.
So I think that this might be the same type of thing. I still feel like it's a 5. I know that it's not seeing a lot of play right now, but I think it will be once we figure out the right way to use it.
Yeah, my gut says it's a 4 because it's not as widely available to be used, I guess. It isn't just a slot in any priest deck, but in the deck that really wants it, I think it's obviously going to be core and going to provide the win condition. So I can be talked into a 5. I don't want to start this off on a down note by any stretch, especially the priest.
I mean,
cards.
I've got other cards in this set that in this preset that I think we can go up to 5 on and not have an argument about. So we can go to 4 on this one because there's some other ones that I feel a lot more strongly about.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, I can't wait to get to those ones. Next one here is High Priest Hammett, a 4-mana 2/7 legendary priest minion. Whenever you summon a minion, set its health equal to this minion's. And I think that when we saw this, it was one of those, like, I mean, everybody wet their pants. This effect is insane, and especially in a deck, in a class that has a combo archetype that's just like critical to its identity with Combo Priest, with Divine Spirit, with Inner Fire. This just like takes that to another level. Now, the fact that it's a legendary means it cannot be the way that you win, but having and actually, I guess we see this with a few legendary minions we'll talk about today, is like this gives you one more way to activate that, and can be really deadly.
Yeah, and you can buff this with the quest. So I mean, you can get it up to 10.
Yes.
You can use things like Powered Shield. You can use things like Divine Spirit. It is a little bit slow because it's going to have a target on its back, even if you can buff its health. And if you get it to stick, even if you get it to stick, your opponent can bump into it and make it actually turn into a liability for you. I've seen this not really being run as much as I expected it to be, and I think that it's just that it's there. You have so much you need to run in that deck in order to be able to get the quest done, or even having double copies of Divine Spirit Inner Fire, that it's just hard to find the room for it. So I think I'm probably backing down.
Well,
I feel like I feel like I can't go higher than a 4 on this card, honestly.
That's fine. Yeah, you mentioned the upside of if you buff it, then it's higher. The downside is if your opponent deals damage to it, it's going to set everyone's health to whatever it's at. So it's actually almost to your advantage if you're the opponent against this to knock it down to 1. If somehow they couldn't heal it or something, and then have that downside. So I think a 4 is about right. This will be a lightning rod, and it will win you games sometimes. But it doesn't do anything like either permanent to the battlefield or I guess more. It just draws attention to itself. It doesn't actually make everything incredible. I would say honestly, one of the strongest moves you can make with this is on turn 5, playing this in a Northshire Cleric, because then at least you've got guaranteed health on another minion, and then that can really be dastardly. But
or anything that summons minions, like Reborn minions, will come back with that amount of health. You'll have anything like Sandredge that summons the 1/1 taunts, that'll get a whole bunch of taunts in the way. Like there are things you can do, and I think the problem is just that the things that you can do with it are nice, but they're not as powerful as what some of the other classes are doing right now. So, but again, if there are some changes, then that's the other thing, is that I think that I'm going to be very surprised if we're not seeing nerfs in like a month. Right?
I would say even less than that, honestly.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I would think that like after Soul, there are probably going to be some cards touched.
Yeah.
So I think that once those cards get touched, I think we're going to come back to this, and it might be a little bit easier to work some of those things out. Right now, you just don't have time.
Sure.
And it's just a little bit clunky. But I think it will get there as we get kind of the meta refined. So I think it's probably a 4. It's got a lot of potential. I think that in a deck that wants it, it will get there, but it's not there right now.
4 in Arena too?
I think it's probably a 3 in Arena, just because you don't really have the ways to capitalize on it. Like you'll be able to make big butts, but
I mean, the upside of big butts though is that you've got multiple trades potentially, as long as you've got the right minions.
Your opponent also has more opportunities to turn this into a liability for you.
That's true. Okay, I can go to 3 on that.
I mean, but it's still going to be better than a lot of minions that you're going to get offered with orange gems in the middle. So.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So Plague of Death is a 9-mana spell. Silence and destroy all minions. This is amazing. Like, in a deck where you get the time to play this card is fan-freaking-tastic. With all of the things like Mech Hunter, which is building all the death rattles that drop the 1/1s that they keep putting stuff on. There's the Quest Paladin that keeps summoning the Reborn and the eggs, and being able to just get rid of that whole board with one card. And anything like the thing that Priest has never really had is like, I mean, you've had Psychic Scream, and that was kind of it did a lot, but it also was kind of delaying the inevitable. It was making them come back. And it also worked against you in a Control Priest, because you often were going for fatigue, and that worked counter to what your strategy is. This does not do that, and it also addresses a board. It's a safety valve. Like, no matter what your opponent has on the board, it is going away, and it's not coming back.
This is the ultimate delete button. And you mentioned that that Reborn Paladin Quest deck. I've been playing that quite a bit. And I went up against a priest. They had this. They had Mass Dispel. And if they had drawn one more of either, I would have lost so hard. I got very lucky, honestly. And so the fact that these exist, I think, is so healthy for the game. Because the Reborn Paladin, I know I said it was like OP on Twitter. That was more for the giggles than anything. It's a strong deck for sure, but something like this keeps it in check. So if we have decks like that are highly value based, can get a ton of stuff on the board and just flood it, this deletes it all. It was interesting to me because that deck runs to Undertaker. I think I was able to get the Death Rattle effects with that still, even though my minions had been silenced. So you do as long as they were printed on the card. Gotcha. Okay.
Because,
so you need
that was always the case, even with even going back to like the old the old Druid that ran Undertaker and the Astral Tiger.
Oh, right. So you need to know how those effects are going to play out, but I think that this is just insane. I mean, it's an easy 5 in my book, and something honestly in Arena that you always want too, just to reset and get back in there.
I mean, 9 mana is a lot in Arena. It is an ultimate reset button, so it's something you probably will draft one of. I don't know that I'd go all the way up to a 5 on it, because it is very late.
That's true,
but I think it would be an easy 4 for sure.
Yeah. I can see it on a 4.
Yep.
Next one here is Psychopomp. So Psychopomp is a 4-mana 3/1 epic minion. Battlecry, summon a random friendly minion that died this game. Give it Reborn. I remember seeing this and thinking, I just don't know how this, or like what deck really wants this. And the answer is pretty much every deck. Like, if you're playing minions that you want, then this just gets them back and makes them sticky on top of it. So whereas like we'll talk about the spell that just gives a minion reborn, this brings it back, it resummons it, so it's kind of a eternal servitude along with reborn on there. So the value off this is insane. It keeps itself in line because the second copy of this might summon this. So I feel like it's balanced, and yet it's about as strong as it can be, I think.
Yeah, like we had this back in Karazhan when we got Onyx Bishop. which was like a
Oh,
5
right.
mana 3/4 that summoned a random minion. And it was the same sort of thing where if you happen to get like an injured Blade Master in your pool, it was great. If you happen to get a Doomsayer in your pool, it was not so great.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's going to be random what it brings back, and then it also will bring back itself if you're not careful. However, it's less likely to do that because you now will have 3 copies of the other minion that you summoned in your pool. So there's versus 1 of the Psychopomp. But it will bring that back, and it will also put a 3/1 in the pool for any Mass Resurrects that come later, or any Katrina Muerte shenanigans that you're going to do. So I think that where we're starting to figure out is that maybe this doesn't go in a Resurrect Priest necessarily, but it goes in more of like a tempo-based deck where you're not going to be playing Mass Res in Katrina, but you're just playing a lot of like decent-sized minions that you just want to keep bringing back and play more of a minion density as opposed to just like a bunch of big wall-type minions that you want to get back over and over again. And maybe that's where this fits.
Don't forget about combo also, because
Yeah.
like you bring back anything which you probably wanted. You could play this with Ahmed and give it 7 health. I mean, you don't want to bring back the second Psychopomp, but I think it's still worth running to just for that first run of it.
Yeah, so I mean, I think this is definitely a 4. I think we're still figuring out how to use it. It's an interesting effect that we haven't really had before, like for a long time, and even like Resurrect Priest back in Karazhan, it was kind of an RNG fiesta to some extent. Like sometimes you would just play an Onyx Bishop and win on the spot, and sometimes you would play it and you'd get back a Doomsayer and you'd lose. So I think this is kind of the same sort of thing, but I think once we figure out what kinds of cards support it better, then it will get better as we go along. And again, this is giving a minion reborn, especially when you have the kinds of valuable minions that Priest has that you want to buff and keep around. It can get really annoying really quick. So yeah, I think it's a 4. And it's probably a 3 in Arena just because your general minion quality is going to be lower, but it's still bringing back a minion twice.
Right, exactly. Just getting something. I mean, the value of a 3/1 minion is pretty low because in Arena there's a good chance your opponent's hero power can take care of it, but as long as you get back something that's halfway decent and it has Reborn, it seems pretty good. Yeah. So 3 I think is fine on that one.
Yeah. Yep.
This one's you. Yep.
Now. Okay. So Grand Mummy is a 2 mana 1/2 Reborn Death Rattle. Give a random friendly minion +1/+1. Sure. We've tried Tempo Priest. It's never really worked. I don't think this is going to be it is 2+2/+2 eventually, but it's so slow. And unless you have like other things that are going around, like summoning minions or whatever, like it doesn't really make that much of a difference. And if your opponent can isolate it, then it doesn't do anything because you don't generally want those buffs to be going off like when your opponent gets to choose them. It's the difference between like Fungalmancer and that Warlock minion that gives +2/+2 as a death rattle to adjacent minions. That one never sees play. The fact that I can remember the name of Fungalmancer and I can't remember the name of that card pretty much tells you the difference in power between those two cards.
You're talking about the 2 mana 2/2 that gives +1/+1?
No, it's like 4 mana. It's like a 4 mana 2/2.
Oh,
I think from Rise of Shadows.
Oh, that one. Underling.
Something like that. Yeah.
But the 2 mana 2/2 that gives +1/+1 to a minion at the end of your turn. That one was. Do you remember?
+2/+2 at the end of your turn.
No, +1/+1. Sorry, it's a 2 mana 2/2 minion.
Shadow Ascendant?
Thank you. That's exactly.
Yeah.
That's all I can think about with this card. If Shadow Ascendant didn't work, I don't think this has a chance, unfortunately. So
yeah,
I think
Shadow
it's
Ascendant was. Well, we had Spiteful Priest for like 5 minutes until they nerfed it, right? So, yeah, I think it's probably a 2. I think I was probably being a little bit harsh on it, giving it a 1, but yeah, I think it has uses, but it just seems really awkward, and there are probably better things you want to be like. You want to be playing clerics, you want to be playing wild pyromancers, you want to be playing like pretty much anything other than a 1/2, basically.
Yeah. In Arena, it's okay. It could get you a little bit more value.
It's still a 2 mana 1/2 is.
It's probably still a 2 there. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't really want it. Cool. All right, next one here is Wretched Reclaimer, 3 mana 3/3 rare minion, battle cry, destroy a friendly minion, then return it to life with full health. I haven't seen this card at all, and it really surprises me because before the announcement, somebody pinged Peter Whalen about this and asked what happens if this hits Reborn. So obviously you hit this on a minion, and essentially, like, if it's just a vanilla minion, you're healing it to full health. And for a 3-mana 3/3, that's not terrible, you know? You could get a lot worse than that. If the minion has a death rattle, you're triggering their death rattle and getting them back to full health. That can be really good, potentially. So what Peter Whalen verified is that if you hit a reborn minion before it's died, you're going to summon the reborn version, and you will bring back the original. If you hit the token that's been revived, you will revive the original reborn minion. So, like, that's the part that's kind of insane to me. And there's not
because you're killing it, and then you're bringing it back as though it was first played.
Right, to its original form.
And when it's first played, it comes back with the reborn tag on it.
Yeah. So it makes sense. Like, the value there is just crazy. Like, you start from the minimum that it can be, and it seems okay. But go to those huge heights, and I think that there's a lot of potential with this card, and it's just not there yet.
Yeah, and again, it's the kind of thing where it's going to take longer to figure out what the hell to do with Priest, right? Because we have nothing to start with.
Sure.
Like, in every other class, even, like, Shaman, you know, like, Shaman had a bunch of different archetypes to go off of. Zoo was like a deck, even though it wasn't it wasn't a meta deck towards the end of the meta. It was still a deck, right? We had no Priest at all. So trying to figure out, like, where, like, we're having to build these decks, like, from nothing. And so we don't have a deck in this meta, in this rotation, that would use something like Wretched Reclaimer. I think that the answer is probably something like Eggs and Reborn Minions, but it's a matter of, like, figuring out, maybe there's, like, a Breakfast Priest that we need to put together. I don't know. But, you know, it feels like that's the kind of thing that you need to do in order to get this to work, because it feels like it would be really strong. You're also putting another copy of that minion in a res pool for something like a Psychopomp or a Katrina or a Mass Res.
Right.
So, like, I think that there's probably something here. It's just, like, somebody needs to spend the time figuring it out. It's going to take longer. It's not going to happen day one of the expansion.
Yeah. And so I'm oscillating between a 4 and a 5 because I feel like it's good enough. It's just not going to be storming the gates right now.
Yeah, I have cards that I feel more strongly about than this, so I think I'm going to go down to a 4. I thought it was going to be stronger than it was, but I was also, like, hope was springing eternal with Priest when I was doing the original ratings. But there are some that I think are still up. I think there are some that we're gonna talk about that are 5s that this is not there.
This is the most self-disciplined Steve I've ever seen when it comes to Priest cards in this set. Like,
if we had done this a week ago, this would be a very different conversation.
I think it's probably a 4 in Arena too. I think so too. I think there are a lot of chances you're going to take this just for the fact that it heals whatever you have. I mean, it's all about getting value out of trades, and this will help you do that. And it's a finely standard minion, so I think 4 is fine. I mean,
you do have other minions that let you do that are kind of cheaper than that, like the one that heals adjacent minions to full. And I don't know if Host and Healer is in this particular arena format, but that's a card that has been in and out depending on which sets are available.
Sure.
But even then, like, that is valuable. Like, being able to value trade and then restore it to full health is not nothing. So I would say, I think it's probably a 4 in Arena.
Sounds good.
Okay. Is this me or is this?
This one is you. Yep.
Okay. So Holy Ripple is a 2-mana spell, deal 1 damage to all minions, restore 1 health to all friendly characters. So this is Spirit Lash, but not, because the difference between the way this is written and the way that Spirit Lash is written is that Lifesteal will double the damage and then double the healing, whereas this will, if you have, like, a Velen on board, this will always restore 2 health to each friendly character. It will not, like, do the amount of damage that the whole thing did and then double it.
That was kind of insane.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's always going to heal you for 1 and all of your minions for 1. That said, Priest needs something like this. Right now, it depends on what the meta is looking like. Like, a lot of the aggro decks revolve around Murlocs that typically have more than 1 health. So you're having to play a lot of spell damage with this. But if you're seeing something like more of a token druid, or, you know, like even like a mech hunter, they're dropping all the 1/1s. Like, this could be valuable. It's just, so I think this is going to go in and out of the meta. It's a tool that Priest needs.
Yeah.
Is it seeing play right now? No, but that's because the meta doesn't support it. But it's an early AoE that Priest has not had access to since Spirit Lash left. So for that reason, it's a good.
And in the early game, playing this with Blood Mage Thalnos, like you would have had to kill it with Spirit Lash, and now it's going to stick on board. And I think
Will it? Oh, it's all enemies. That's
yeah,
big,
yeah.
that's
It's only the enemies you're hitting. So I think there's a significant upside to that also. That was just a pretty common play with Priest before. So yeah, I think it's really good. I mean, it's got to be encouraging to Priest players more than anything that they got two really solid AoE cards this set. One for the early game and one for the late game potentially. This one can be good to you later in the game with Velen or some other spell damage stuff. So I think it's probably a 4 in my book.
Yeah, I think so. It'll be meta dependent, but it'll be a tool that'll get used.
In Arena, probably the same. One damage just isn't that much. You'll take it still, though.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you just need to clean up a board after some value trades, and you get to heal up all of your minions. And I mean, you still can get something, not in Arena as much, but you still can get some shenanigans with like Northshire Cleric and stuff like that. It still does work that way too.
Cool. Next one here is Embalming Ritual. 1 mana priest spell, give a minion reborn. You were quick to remind me when I saw this that we've had Desperate Stand before, which was basically the same thing, which was a paladin spell that gave a minion Death Rattle, resummon this minion with 1 health, which is exactly the same. And it did nothing. 1 mana is always something to look at, especially with stuff like Nomi Priest that's been around. Having another 1 mana spell is interesting, although there's... Well, I guess your Gadgetzan Auctioneer you're actually not too upset to get reborn on. So
depends on how many cards are left.
Yeah, that's true. So there's some potential with this. It certainly, it has more potential than we've seen before. I just don't know that. Like you have to be doing something really powerful with this effect in your deck strategy in order to guarantee it, I think, or in order to justify it being in the deck list.
Yeah, you have to super care about giving a minion reborn, or you have to be playing like every card with a small number on the upper left corner. One or the other. And those are both potentially valid, but I don't think that they're going to be that common. And I think there are probably a lot of spells that you're going to get to before Embalming Ritual in that list of just, I need a bunch of stuff that I needed to play on minions. I mean, is there something with like a Xeric Master Cloner? Maybe. Like,
Infinite
maybe
Priest?
there's some sort of like a recurring villain Xeric Master Cloner deck.
Yeah.
We haven't seen it yet, but maybe that's part of the puzzle. I don't know.
It's got some potential, but I think it's probably at a 3 at the highest.
Yeah, I think so. And it's probably a 2 in Arena because, like, the minions, you're going to have to find a minion that's worth doing that. That's worth drafting a spell like this.
Yeah.
That is completely useless if you don't have a board.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yep. Penance is a 2 mana spell. Lifesteal, deal 3 damage to a minion. So this is a 5. Like, spoiler. But this is like having this card. This card feels amazing when you are using it. I mean, it's the only thing that's a little bit awkward with it right now is that you generally want to use it on curve and you've just played the quest and it doesn't heal you. So you kind of have to wait a turn and let your opponent hit you in the face once to get that healing. But, that's not always going to be the case. But just being able to Frostbolt a minion and heal at the same time is something that Priest has always had to choose one or the other, with the exception of like Holy Fire, which is a 6 mana spell. So being able to have a cheap spell that does 3 damage, which is a very common break point for early minions, being able to just kill an Underbelly Angler or a Murloc War Leader or something like that, and not have to worry about what the attack is like the thing with like Shadow Word Death and Shadow Word Pain is that they vary very much throughout the game. They're either amazing or they're useless, and this is generally good across the board because you can combine it with trading in order to just do the rest of that damage to get something off the board.
Yeah, it's like 2 mana deal 3 damage has always been good. I can't think of anything that does that hasn't seen some amount of play. And especially for priest decks that want to go long game, having something to do in the early game that takes care of most of those kinds of minions is a really big deal. Not to mention that lifesteal. That's just, you can't understate how important the lifesteal part of that is. I guess we were thinking about that with Spirit Lash, how with spell damage it would help even more so, but you're not getting that with Holy Ripple. They more than made up for it with Penance. So So yeah, I agree completely that it's a 5 there. It's a 5 in Arena too, because you
Yeah,
need to be able to
100%.
deal and trade, and this does
Yeah.
everything you want it to.
And worth mentioning, Velen doesn't see a lot of play right now, but with Velen, this is 9 mana, deal 6, heal 12.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh.
we're not playing Velen right now, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But when we get to playing Velen again, that is relevant.
Velen finds a way. He always finds a way. And the last one we've got here is Sandhoof Waterbear, 5 mana, 5/5. At the end of your turn, restore 5 health to a damaged friendly character. We've got Mini Light Rag, and he's in the correct class. And I know that you're a happy boy, Steve. This seems like the card. Why do you not play this in any priest deck that you're playing?
This is a staple. This is the kind of thing that priest needed to get started, right? This is the kind of high value card that it doesn't have in the base kit, because a 5-drop that's fairly statted that heals you or your minions that your opponent kind of needs to deal with is really, really powerful. So and you can you can resurrect this, or you can bring it back with a Psychopomp, or you can there's a lot of things you can do in there, and there's a lot of skill involved in making sure you're manipulating what's damaged and what's healed to make sure that the heals go to the right place. But we didn't see Rag Lightlord fell off just because it was an 8-drop and there were better ways to heal in Paladin. But being able to again, this is a theme with this set, being able to develop or remove at the same time that you're healing your face, because you're going to be taking damage as the priest, is a big deal. And I'm really I've never been upset when I've been playing this card. I just wish it would have taunt. That was the only thing that's on my wish list.
Well, it kind of does, though.
That,
I mean, you said your opponent has to deal with this. I came up against it. I've played against Priest more than I have played it so far this expansion. And there was a time, actually, I was doing really well. I was playing maybe it was a Lackey Zoo Warlock or something like that. And I was way ahead. And on turn 5, all they could do was play this. But I had to get off my regularly scheduled program of going face to just delete this and then keep going. So this healed them for 5, and then it sort of proactively healed them for 5 because I couldn't deal that 5 face damage. So there's a lot of 5s being thrown around here. I think I know where we're going in all accounts for this card.
There's a lot of 5s and there's 2 more. So
yes, exactly.
I think in Arena too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
This is great. I mean, you're healing your minions, you're healing your face, you're playing a 5/5 for 5. There's no downside.
If I'm thinking you just play this in every priest deck, then in Arena, that's the definition that you want this card.
Yeah.
So
it's a standalone good card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so we got through priest.
We did.
We're not even an hour in.
I don't know. Maybe
we're nowhere
maybe
near
we need
an hour,
to do them a
Steve.
second time.
Here's hoping that we see some stuff in the last set of the year to really bring it full circle, because you're right. Priest really wasn't standing on much solid ground before this, but at least with those last 2 cards we mentioned, there's quite a bit there, and there could be even more coming. So
yeah, and again, I think with nerfs we might get there. I'm still of the opinion, and I guess we'll talk about Zephyrs in a bit, but I'm still of the opinion that the Highlander decks that we're seeing play are not necessarily because the cards that are enabling that are really powerful, as much as it is that those classes that are able to play Highlander decks have just gotten so many good cards over the last couple sets to try to bring them up when they were down below, that now they can get away with playing 30 unique cards and still not have a power drop.
Yeah.
So I think if they address some of that, then then Priest might have a chance to kind of compete on equal footing.
Cool. All right, well, let's head over to Rogue. We've got the Rogue quest, which is 1 mana, obviously. Bizarre Burglary is what it's called. And the quest is add 4 cards from other classes to your hand. The reward is Ancient Blades, which is a 2 mana hero power that equips you with a 3/2 weapon. And when you attack, you have immune. So it's the same effect that we've seen with Gladiator Longbow for Hunter. I've got to brag a little bit that I felt like there was a lot of naysayers before this set was released, and I looked at this and I said, man, just a 2 mana button that you get for the rest of the game that gives you Fiery War Axe and takes away some of the downside of the health problem that Rogue has always had seems pretty strong. Now I'm not at a place saying that this card is going to redefine Rogue necessarily, but pretty much everything that I've seen thus far that's been really good with Rogue has had this card attached to it.
Really? Every time I play against this deck, I feel like it's a free win.
Really? Okay, so tell me your perspective then.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't played with this card, but I played against it a whole bunch, and it just seems like the quest doesn't do that much. Like, yeah, you're getting to run your face into minions and take them out. Like, it's making it a little bit easier to remove opposing minions, but it's like, yeah, okay, but Rogue does that anyway. And it seems like you put this in because you're playing all of those cards, but you're also losing the spot in the mulligan, and it's making you less consistent in that regard. And like, compared to the other quests, like when I see like the Shaman quest go off or the Druid quest, like I know I'm in for a rough time.
Right.
But like, or even the Paladin quest, this one, it's like, okay, well, you get a slightly better weapon. Like, it's yeah, you could use your face to remove minions, but like you generally like don't want to be doing that. You want to be hitting your opponent in the face, and like 3 damage is not that much compared to everything else that everyone else is doing in the format. And it actually sometimes does take a particularly long time to get this done. Like, I thought it was going to be a lot quicker than it was. And I mean, we've seen the number 4 on quest cards for Rogue before, and this is kind of going in the other direction where it seems like it's a lot longer than you would expect, because sometimes you just don't find those cards. And, I was actually, I'll brag a little bit. I played against Kibler on stream last
that's
night.
right. Yeah.
And he was playing this deck, and I was playing Battlecry Shaman, and it wasn't really very close. Sure. And he got a bunch of things, because you're also kind of just giving into RNG by putting that many Burgle cards in your deck, because you need to put a lot more than 4 into your deck to guarantee you're going to get this in a reasonable amount of time, which means you're basically just going for, you're going to take what the game gives you, and sometimes the game just doesn't give you good stuff.
Yeah, I came up against one that the game gave it Tyrion Fortering, so that happens too. That was off the Rush minion, the Bizarre Mugger. But I see where you're coming from with that. I mean, Burgle Rogue in the past has been good, at least. Not fantastic, but good enough, just because you're getting value off of what you play and getting enough cards. You mentioned that you're losing an opening card, but like with Evil Miscreant and with all those Burgle cards, I don't feel like with Rogue you ever have a problem of resource management. You just need to use it and hope that you get 1 or 2 high rolls at least, because those really can change it. So I'm okay with going on a 3 on this. I'm not going to go lower than that, because it is seeing play. It's just my other problem with this card is that Spectral Cutlass exists, right? And it actually does this better, because you have lifesteal and you can buff it, right?
And then you can actually like still run your face into things, remove bigger minions with it, and then heal to the point where if your opponent doesn't have any weapon removal, you just have inevitability.
Sure.
This doesn't give you inevitability.
This actually gives you inevitability that you will get it, though. The biggest problem with Spectral Cutlass is that you have no way to get it other than Raiding Party, which means that then you have to put more pirates in your deck, which means then you're doing a pirate Burgle deck, which it could work maybe.
You're already running French Clan Burglar, so you just need a couple more, right?
Sure, and it seems like the 4-mana 3/3 that gets discounted from weapon. Dread Corsair. Yeah. So there's definitely a place for that. I just think that from my perspective, I like the guarantee that I'm going to get this quest first thing, and I'm going to have it indefinitely just by continuing to invest 2 mana and dealing 6 damage. So I think a 3 is probably a good in between for us. Yeah. If I were personally reviewing it, I think I'd want to give it a 4, but we'll see. And who knows how some other of these, if they continue to innovate what it means to get cards from other classes into your hand, there could be some other things that actually make it more more likely for you to get exactly what you need or something like that. Yeah, so maybe there's a place where this gets better with time.
I mean, I have seen a Reno quest rogue
I saw that too.
Runs Zephyrs because you get offered other cards from other classes, and that's another Burgle effect. Yeah. So I've seen that happen. I don't ever want to play that deck, but it is a thing that exists.
It is loaded in my collection, so I really do need to spend more time with this card. So yeah, let's keep going here.
Yeah. So Anka the Buried is a 5 mana 5/5 legendary minion. Battle cry: change each Death Rattle minion in your hand to a 1/1 that costs 1. So this is a really interesting effect. I'm not really sure where it fits right now. I mean, Mecha'thun is kind of the obvious place where your mind's gonna go, because
Of course.
you draw Mecha'thun, you play this, you Myras, and then you play this and play the Mecha'thun and backstab it, or whatever. There's a lot of things that have to happen that I just got out of that description in order for Mecha'thun Rogue to work.
Sure.
And not dying is the first one, but I mean, it could be used for that. I mean, there's also, anytime you have Death Rattle minions that are hard to kill off, this is going to make those a little bit easier. I mean, in Wild, there's a lot, in terms of, you can play Jade, you can play Anubarak, you can play Zarel, and just being able to make them all 1/1s. And be able to play them for one gets around a lot of kind of the awkwardness with some of those heavily statted minions. But we just haven't really seen enough Death Rattles in Standard to make this do anything yet. But it could.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've got a long time before this rotates out.
Yeah, and I did see some people theory crafting around something like, I don't know, just like a high value rogue, essentially. Yeah. Like it was running mechanical whelps. It was running even the 8 mana 8/8. I can't believe
the Despicable Doctor.
Yes,
the one that heals you for 8.
Yeah, that's
or Octosari, because Octosari is also,
of course. Man, yeah. I'm honestly not sure where I'm going to land with that card when we talk about it. But regardless, there's some potential here. It asks Rogue to do something very different from what Rogue has ever done, and one legendary card on its own can't do that effectively. So it's really a tough in between for me. Like, as far as like right now, I don't feel like this is the card you want, and it has potential, but it's very much like a who knows kind of thing at this point. So I kind of want to go with 3 on it right now.
Yeah, I feel like it'll find a place, but it doesn't. Maybe it just doesn't have the cards right now. But I could see it having some utility.
Yeah.
So I go for a 3, and in Arena it's probably the same thing, because it's just like a 5/5 for 5.
Yeah, yeah. Worst. If you have, well, I don't know. You gotta have some. Yeah, I guess that's all.
Worst comes to worst, you just drop it as a minion. It's fine. It's gonna be better than. It's going to be better than a lot of things you're going to be offered, right? That's kind of where I am with it.
I was thinking you might actually have some Death Rattles that you don't want discounted, or like because you want,
or you don't want shrunk.
Yeah, you want the health there in order to combat the board or something. So this might actually be a liability in some.
Yeah,
instances.
I mean, I guess you're going to draw something like a Kartut Defender, a fair amount in Arena, and you really would rather that not be a 1/1,
right?
That's the 3/6 that heals you for 3 when it dies.
Mm-hmm.
So that I don't think you'd want that to be a 1/1. So, but I mean, you could just wait, right?
Yeah, just wait.
So, yeah, just wait.
I think a 3 is fine. So we've got World Kickmaster next. 2 mana 1/2 epic minion. Whenever you play a combo card, add a random combo card to your hand. I don't like this, but I think that this is about as good as this card could be. And not be too good. Like the fact that it's potentially got some miracle effects, okay, that's fine. There's some really good combo cards, so I feel like you're not totally upset about that. A 2 mana 1/2 is not a great stat line, but the fact that it's 2 mana means that there's a really good chance that you can play cards. Oh, and by the way, if you're playing those combo cards, you're getting bonus effects off them. So that's a really long way of me processing to say I feel like it's better than garbage, but my hot take is that it's garbage. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah. I mean, I think the problem ultimately is that a lot of and this was something that our friends at Quakency pointed out, is that a lot of the combo cards are on the expensive side. Like in Standard, there are no combo cards that cost less than 2. And
oh wow.
There's Cold Blood, and that's just Cold Blood and Eviscerate. And Defias Ringleader.
Mm-hmm.
So like most of them, like if I'm looking, actually I should sort this by cost. That would be a smart thing to do, rather than just like looking at this random grid that I'm looking at. But like, so you have Cold Blood and Eviscerate at 2, and then you have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 that cost 3, and then you have 4 that cost 4 or more. So like expected value is going to be pretty low of you being able to get like more than like 2 cards off in a chain.
Sure.
Which is very different than, say, Lyra the Sunshard, where there's a lot of like 1 and 0 cost spells for priests.
Yeah.
And then you can do a really long chain with that. You're not really going to be able to do this kind of a chain with it. And it may be things like you're going to get a weapon that's going to overwrite your other weapon, and it's not actually going to do anything. So yeah, I was a lot bigger on this because I don't understand Rogue as a class. And so yeah, I think it's probably it's a 2 at best. It might even be a 1.
I think I would put it at a 1
least
for
for right
now.
now.
Yeah. The one thing that got me thinking when you said Lyra Sunshard, I was like, yeah, that was really good with Radiant Elemental. So if we see some card that discounts combo cards, that could make it interesting. But again, we're talking about some really expensive cards to start out with, and this is a 2-mana 1/2. Your opponent's going to be able to deal with it. So I think a 1 is fair. In Arena, I think it's a 1 also. You just don't want it.
You would have to have a combo card along with this to get any value out of it, and that's not likely.
Yeah.
Shadow of Death is a 4-mana spell. Choose a minion, shuffle 3 shadows into your deck that summon a copy when drawn. So this is a very awkward card that could have some potential. I mean, Rogue can draw through its deck. We know this. It has Myras.
They have one single card that enables them to do it.
Yeah, so they can do that with one card. They can, and I mean, this would involve them being able to have a minion stick, play this and Myras on the same turn, or start taking fatigue damage and then be able to play a minion alongside this. Now, if that minion is Leroy, that's a big deal. But that also, like, it feels kind of win more because you could just shadow step the Leroy and play a waggle pick and get the Leroy back. So it's like, what are you doing that you can't already do with shadow step that you would use this for? Like, you would need to be summoning a minion that doesn't have a battle cry multiple times. And like, other than something like a Leroy, I'm not sure what the use case for that is really.
You want to know the use case? Because I played against this card. My opponent played Myra's Unstable Element on turn 4. After prepping it out. The next turn, I am just baffled that they chose that, but I'm also a little scared because it's like, you did that intentionally. Next turn, they play a Mogu Cultist.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then Shadow of Death it. Now, I was able to kill them in 2 turns, so they did not get to do what they wanted to do, and I don't think you ever Myra's on turn 4 or whatever it was. But
I mean, even then, it's only going to summon 3 of them, right?
Exactly,
like, how are you getting the other 4?
Yeah.
Even if you like, let's say that you set this up on like, how much does Mogu Cultist cost? It costs 1, right?
Yeah, it's 1.
So let's say you Myra's on turn 8, and turn 9 you go Mogu Cultist, double Shadow of Death. That's still 6. You still have like. You have to, that minion needs to stick, or you need to be holding the other copy in your hand to play alongside the rest of them.
But that's exactly it. If all you have are 6 copies of those shadows here, and you have the second copy of Mogu Cultist in your hand, then that's guaranteed Shadow of Ra, I think is the name of him. So there's
if you haven't died by then, yes.
That's the big thing, and it's like that's a lot that you're investing. Your opponent needs to be doing nothing in order for this to work, but it's a really huge payoff. So I think what you initially said, that this is I can't even remember how you put it. There's potential here. It's just pretty awkward still. So I want to put it at a 3 probably. And
yeah, I want to go lower, but I probably shouldn't because I know I'll eat my words if I do. So 3 sounds about right.
I think
in Arena this is a 1 though. Like this is like Gang Up is like hands down like one of the all-time worst cards.
Sure.
In Arena, and this is basically Gang Up that you just don't have to pay for, but you also don't get the battle cry off of it.
Right, so, but in Arena, you may just have some solid stat minions that you really don't mind. I probably still agree that it's a 1, but I think that I think calling it Gang Up isn't quite fair because
I mean, it is because you're shuffling. I mean, it's doing the same thing, right? You're shuffling the minion into your deck, and then you're paying 4 mana to do literally nothing.
Yeah.
And then
that's the big downside. Sure.
You may get a copy of this minion eventually, but you may not. It may be literally 4 mana to do nothing.
It's true.
So I think it's a 1 for Arena. Like, you would never draft this, right? Like, you'll take it off of a random effect. Like, that might happen, but I don't think you would ever draft this and put it in your deck on purpose.
And if you're really ahead enough that you don't mind, doing nothing for 4 mana, then sure, why not? But that's the only time that you play it, probably. All right, next one is the Rogue Plague. It's 1 mana, and it's Plague of Madness. Excuse me. Each player equips a 2/2 knife with poisonous. Steve, I've seen this card played.
Really?
Off of Puzzle Box of Yogg-Saron.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
And it was fantastic for me when my opponent did that. So, yeah, this card isn't going to get played. I do think that it's better than nothing. And I think that, like, my mind started going to,
That's
like...
a hot bar.
It is, isn't it? I just feel like I need to defend cards when everybody's so low on them sometimes. Because I started thinking, well, when would you not care that you just gave your opponent a delete 2 cards thing? Or delete 2 minions. If I have huge minions, I don't care too much because that means I'm guaranteed some face damage from them. If I don't have minions, I don't care either. So I wonder if there's some kind of combo rogue that can make something like this happen, especially since Miracle Rogue has been a thing several times in the past. So even just drawing an extra card might be what you need, especially after Myra's Unstable Element rotates out or even gets nerfed. I don't know if we'll actually see that. But so I think there are some very fringe cases. I will still give it a 1 for sure, but I think that there's more potential with this card than people think that there is.
Well, so since I can't say anything nice, all I will say is that I got one of these in Golden, and the Golden art is delightful because it has like the spiral in the background rotating.
Yeah.
That's the only good thing about this card.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a 1. It's a 1 in Arena too. Like, there's no reason you're going to do that in
Probably,
Arena.
yeah. Maybe if you have like 0 other removal. The hard thing is you're giving your opponent the same thing too. So I don't know.
Like, hard removal is at such a premium in Arena sometimes, and giving your opponent 2 hard removals over 2 turns is
really
not that's not a winning strategy.
Yeah. No, that's for sure.
Bizarre Mugger is a 5 mana 3/5 rush minion. Battle Cry, add a random minion from another class to your hand. So I think that the problem with this card is just that there are so many add a random whatever to your hand. This is also a minion, which is generally going to be a lot more variant than like a spell. It's 5 mana, which you generally just don't want to be paying 5 mana in a rogue in rogue for something that's not going to be, you know, a major impact like Myra's Unstable Element. I mean, it is a rush minion. I actually thought I would see this more than I have been, and I've barely ever seen this played compared to even like the card, what we call it, Clever Disguise, which I thought we would be seeing a lot less of.
Yeah.
So I think it's just too expensive, and like you're probably not going to get more than 1 card out of this likely, and then you have other ways to like rush minions, and it's just awkward.
I've gone back and forth on. There's so many cards I feel like I've gone back and forth on, and this is one of them severely, because this is the card that my opponent got Tyrion Forging off of, and so it's just man, that happens, and that's insane. Just being able to rush and deal damage is good. This is just at a premium. So, I mean, the closest thing we have, the Restless Mummy, we can relate this to, and that's a little bit cheaper. Like, I feel like if the minion you get off of this is decent at all, you're okay. I mean, if you get a cheap minion, maybe you can combo it with something that you've got, and if it's a bomb like Tyrion, then great. I doubt there's many minions you're getting that are just completely
There are a lot of bad class minions too.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like half of Mage's minions are not great. So
I just probably don't want to go lower than 3 because I feel
I'm fine with 3.
I feel like there's enough here. We will keep experimenting with it for sure. I can definitely see it getting cut in the end because it's just too random. But rush is a powerful effect, so who knows?
Yeah, and I mean, it's worth saying, like, we're going to have this quest for another year, and a lot of the cards that are in Burgle Rogue right now, like Blink Fox, Henchclan Burglar is going to be with us, right? But yes. Blink Fox is going to be going away. I forget what else they run that, but in any event, we have this may see play as something like a Blink Fox goes away, right? Yeah. So that may affect its value going forward. But yeah, it's right now. I don't think I can give it higher than a 3. And I mean, in Arena, it's probably a little bit better because
probably 4 there.
You know, it's probably a 4 just because having Rush in Arena is a little bit more valuable.
And just the value of getting another card. Like in Arena, you'll take whatever you can get most of the time.
Yep.
Our next one here is Socket Sock it to him. Socket Sapper. 4 mana, 4/4 pirate. Death Rattle. Return a random enemy minion to your opponent's hand. I haven't seen this played at all. I feel like I'm still confused. Like, Sap is so powerful, but you get to target that. And we really haven't had an effect that's quite like this before, other than, like, there was something in Naxxramas that's Death Rattle was return a friendly minion to your hand. So I don't know. I don't feel very strongly on this one either way, Steve. Where are you at?
I don't think you want to be giving your opponent the ability to choose when an effect like this goes off.
Yeah, that's like, a good point.
It gives them an ability to trade things off or play around it so that, and depending on what it is, like, they can play a Battlecry minion, trade off the rest of their board and into this, and then make sure the Battlecry minion's left. And, if that's something like a Zephyrs, like, have fun.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I mean, does this bring Necrium Blade, though, into the spotlight at all?
I mean, if you really want to recreate Vanish that badly, maybe. But
I miss Vanish a lot. My Pogos miss Vanish a lot.
I think that's a lot of work to try to MacGyver together a Vanish.
That's true.
I think it's a 2.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
And in Arena, I don't know if it's a 2 or a 3. Like, the stats are fine, but that ability is not going to matter. I think the ability is not going to matter very much, honestly. Yeah. I think it's which means it's probably a 3 then.
Yeah, I think 3's fine there.
Yeah. Hooked Scimitar is a 3 mana 2/2 weapon combo, game +2 attack. I thought this weapon was a lot worse until I got hit with it in the face a bunch.
Ouch.
There is like an aggro rogue that's out there that uses this along with the Waggle Pick.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out that, a 3 mana 4 attack weapon is just as good.
On turn 2 is the big part of that.
Yeah, coin it out and play that. And then you get to swing twice and you just play Waggle Pick and do it some more. It feels like it's for a very narrow use case, but that use case is painful.
Yeah.
So it's probably a 3.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm fine with that. I wouldn't have given it the time of day either.
Yeah.
And until I started seeing in those lists, and the example was you coin this out on turn 2 and play Dread Corsair. And it's like, wow, right. That is a very strong turn 2. So if you can get that, it's explosive, and in an aggressive deck, that's all you care about. So there's definitely a place for this, but that's really it. And it's not even really flashy, but aggro doesn't care about flashy. It just cares about doing the face down. So
yeah,
Arena, it's probably about the same.
I think so.
3's probably fine there too, I think. Not much to say about that one.
No, not really. I mean, it's pretty straightforward.
And that's okay. We got plenty more cards. Faro Cat is next. 1 mana, 1/2 beast. Battlecry, add a random reborn minion to your hand. So Rogue loves 1 mana cards, so let's get that straight. The fact that this reborn minion can be a Grand Mummy or a Micro Mummy means that you could get something from another class, right? Am I right about that?
Yes.
I'm pretty sure.
It's random. It's not discover. It's random. It's not discover. So yes, you can.
So there's some reasons to like this. There is one reborn minion in particular that is unplayable, so you really don't want that. You get like Shadow of the Colossus, and that's like, okay, big beefy minion, that's fine, but it's I don't think there's any rogue deck that's going to take advantage of that. So I like, this is really right down the middle of the road for me.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that there are some things in favor of this. Like, it is a 1-drop where that provides value, where Rogue really has not had that. It's been able to take advantage of stuff like Swashbuckler and Firefly in the past, and it hasn't had that. So having like a 1 mana 1/2 that you can play on 1, get value, or be able to trigger a combo effect is it seems like it should be valuable. I think the problem is just that a lot of the reborn minions just are not very good.
Yeah.
And we're not going to get any more. So I think for that reason, it's probably a 2, because I don't see it improving. And it feels like, and there aren't enough class reborn minions to play it in a Burgle Rogue, which would really be the use case. Like, the use case would be, okay, well, this is another generator for cards from other classes, but very often they're neutral. So for that, I think it's a 2, unfortunately.
Yeah,
I think it's probably a little bit better in Arena, though.
Yeah. Arena, I mean, 1/2 isn't a good stat line, but what you're going to get off of it is probably good.
Yeah.
I'd say
for
a
arena,
3.
it's probably fine.
A 3 is probably safe, but
Yeah.
you put this against some other minions, and I could see myself choosing this pretty often.
Yeah.
So, cool.
Yep. And Clever Disguise is a 2-mana spell. Add 2 random spells from another class to your hand. It's fine. You play it if you're playing the quest. If you're not playing the quest, you probably don't play it. Like, it's pretty straightforward. It's half your quest. So if you're playing the quest, this gets you halfway there, and if not, then you don't play this.
Yeah. I'm amazed how much play this is seeing.
Yeah.
But it's essentially like a cheaper Arcane Intellect that does further along your quest twice with one card. Because that quest is about adding cards to your hand, not playing them. So you play this card and it ticks off. Yeah. So I think that's probably why it's seeing play. I think that there's a good chance that you play this card and there's at least one of those spells that is going to help you in the game, if not both.
Yeah.
So when I think about it that way, it's like, yeah, I guess it is a fine card. So it's probably 3s across the board in my book.
I think it's probably a little bit lower in arena because, I mean, the spells you're going to get, you're generally going to be better off just drafting something.
Mm-hmm.
The cards that you're drafting are always going to be higher quality than anything you're going to get from random effect. So, like, just getting one extra, I think even, like, drafting one spell is probably worth more than 2 random spells. So I think it's probably a 2 in arena. You'd have to be pretty hard up to draft it, I would say. Like, you're going to look at that against other things, and you're probably just going to want to know what the thing is going to do, right?
I think that's fair.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to Shaman. And Shaman's quest is Corrupt the Waters, which is a 1-mana quest. The quest is play 6 battle cry cards. Reward is Heart of Vernal, which is a 2-mana hero power. All your battle cries occur twice. And so the quest basically says play lackeys, which you're going to do anyway.
Are lackeys strong on their own? I can't remember. Like,
yeah,
jeez.
And we got support for lackeys in Shaman, which is also really good, which is also a battle cry. And this deck is really good.
Ugh,
like I was playing, I think I took this to 9 wins.
Uh-huh.
And again, like I said, I was playing against Kibler on stream on ladder and beat him with this deck. And there are a lot of good sheep battle cries. Like, even just the fact that these things double up, like getting 2 lackeys from a Sludge Slurper is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Getting a Kobold Lackey to do 4 damage is a lot. Getting a Life Drinker to do 6 damage and heal you for 6 is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And then Shutterwalk gets to do all that stuff all over again and refills your hand and builds a board and draws you cards. And it's amazing how much value you can get with these 2 and 3 mana minions that look like, even just like Mind Control tech. Mm-hmm. Like, I didn't think Mind Control tech was going to be core, but that does some serious work.
Yeah.
When you double that up.
Especially in the meta right now when there's lots of minions on the board pretty much constantly. So, yeah. The card's good. The deck's good. Man. You know, I think back to when Shutterwalk was revealed, and I think Ben Brode said that day that there wasn't a card that's ever scared him as much for the game's sake as Shutterwalk. And I wonder if he was looking at this card and saying, like, yeah, that might be too. I mean, the great news is that at 9 mana they foresaw this and said, you can't double Shutterwalk. But the thing is, you get each of the battle cries that happen from the doubles if you play Shutterwalk later in the game. So the value off of this is insane. I'm just thankful that Control Warrior can still reliably beat it. And yeah, I don't have this card yet, so I think maybe I'm just jealous, and that's my problem. But I think it's probably...
Oh no, it's real good. It's real good. I enjoy this deck a lot. I want to go up to a 5. I think. I mean, this is defining a whole new archetype for Shaman. It's a completely different way to play that we haven't really had before.
Yeah. Ugh. Okay, next one here is Vicina, 4 mana, 2/6. While you're overloaded, your other minions have +2 attack. Mentioned this with Ahmet that we have some minions that just like give you another chance to do something. This is a 3rd copy of Bloodlust in your deck, essentially. And for that reason, it's very strong. And we saw with Lickum that getting things overloaded isn't that hard, especially for aggressive decks, because there are lots of aggressive spells like Lightning Bolt and Lava Burst that you're just going to have in your deck. And there are things like Voltaic Burst that's seeing plenty of play. So like overloaded's not an issue. You just put this in a token deck where you want to kill your opponent, and it's a 3rd copy, and it's just great for all those reasons.
Yeah, I mean, even if you're using it for board control, like it's like back in Monster Hunt where you would give the dogs from Shaw +2 attack, and
Mm-hmm.
then you'll voltaic burst or you'll play a Thunderhead with this on board, and those all do 3 damage, and 3 damage is a lot when it's all rushing out in pairs. So I think this is. I mean, I don't know that I'm willing to go all the way up to a 5.
It's probably a 4.
It's probably a 4, but it's very good.
Because like the stats don't really do anything. But it's just like Bloodlust, where you're not playing it more than likely unless you're ready to. Actually, that's probably the biggest downside is that if you're not ahead, this won't help you get there at all. It legit is a third copy of Bloodlust that won't do anything.
Well, I mean,
on
on 5 mana, you can play this in voltaic burst, right? Like that's a thing that you can do.
Sure, and then the little minions have 3 attack. Yeah. So that's something.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's fine. I mean, it is going to be a finisher a lot of the time, and you have to have enough mana and another card in hand to activate it. But and it doesn't stack. It's not like every overload does more.
Right.
But
gosh,
thank God
we don't need that. And in arena, like the stats aren't great. You don't know if you're gonna get overload. I feel like it's probably a 2. Like they're just way better.
I think it's a
minions.
3. Like it's still just slightly understated. And like, what else are you going to get offered, right? Like, you're going to get like, I guess Shutterwalk's a bad example, but like, what are like other Shaman cards that you're going to get offered?
I mean, I think I would take Blood Mage Thalnos over this if I were offered it.
Yeah, I'm thinking about like Shaman legendaries even. Like, I'm trying to think of what else there is.
I mean, Electro Storm Surge. I'd take that.
Yeah, maybe.
I feel like this is probably one of the worst. I mean, I'm not going to go down to a 1, but I don't think you ever pick this in arena.
Yeah, I mean, you still have things like Millhouse and Matt Pagel and stuff like that. They're going to be in the pool too, right? Like,
so those are 1s. This is a 2.
Well, no, I'm saying that you're like, you can take like, my bar for legendaries in arena is fairly low, because if I can play the card and have it not be embarrassing in terms of the stats and not have the effect actively hurt me, then that's generally like a win, right? Like even like King Feoris, right? Like a 5 mana 10/10 when you're maybe going to have like one spell in your hand.
Yeah.
Right. Like this is going to be better than that at least, and it's 6 health is still a decent amount of health for getting a couple value trades.
Yeah, if your opponent has a lot of small minions, I can see it being good that you get to trade in. So okay, I'll go to a 3. Okay. Even though I'm being annoying.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Plague of Murlocs, 3 mana spell, transform all minions into random Murlocs. I think that we're not seeing this as much as we are because there's not really a control shaman right now. But I think this is very strong, and I actually have been seeing it in some Murloc shaman as a clear because you can get rid of taunts, and there aren't any Murlocs with taunts with taunt. So even like you don't get to attack anymore, but at least you get rid of taunts that are on the board, or you can get rid of like sticky like reborn minions or whatever.
Yeah.
And or like a big beefy Ziliax that's just gonna be impossible for you to trade through. And this kind of acts like Devolve used to, which is exactly what it is. It's Devolve.
That's what you want.
Because most of the Murlocs are like 3 drops or 4 drops at the biggest. I think Scargill's the biggest one at 4 health. Most of them have 3 health, which lines up really nicely with Lightning Storm or with like a smaller Hagathis scheme. And if you're playing a Murloc shaman, then you want to have Murlocs anyway, so it actually benefits you.
Sure. I think it's all upside on this one.
Yeah.
If you're playing the control game, you're good to go. If you're playing the aggressive Murloc deck, you're good to go. So this is a really strong card. Like I like. Hopefully you've seen this. If you haven't at least seen it off like a puzzle box or something, because that's just fun when it happens. But
the animation's great too.
Yeah, it really is. So I think I initially said a 5. I kind of want to go 4.
But I've been thinking the same thing. Okay. I think after having played with it, I think it
still doesn't deal with the board.
Yeah,
it does, but it doesn't. It's tough to review this one, honestly.
I mean, you could be seeing this more if like Quest Paladin and Resurrect Priest and those types of decks are more prevalent. This is like, again, the control decks take longer to come together because you need to figure out what the tools are for what you're fighting against. Right now, other than like a big Ziliax, there's not really anything that you're really targeting with this. But if we were like at the end of the last meta where Mech Paladin was everywhere, or Mech Hunter rather, I mean Mech Paladin was a deck too, where they were sticky and it was hard to get rid of them, then yeah, you might have seen this. So it's going to be very meta dependent. But I think in there, I don't want to go up to a 5 either, but I think it's probably a 4.
Yeah. In Arena, is it
It's a 3? It's still you still play Devolve sometimes,
sure.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Next one, I'm glad I got this one. Splitting Axe is a 4-mana 3/2 weapon. It reads Battle Cry, summon copies of your totems. Ike's riding the Totem Shaman, man. I've seen it. I haven't played with it. I want to.
Ike plays a lot of decks that normal people cannot play.
He does.
Ike also played Lifeweaver in a deck that he brought with him to
It's
Worlds.
True. It's true.
And that is the first and last time that card has been included in a deck.
Oh, man.
So I am not taking Ike as my sample size for whether this card is worth playing or not.
So here's the thing. A 3 attack, 2 health weapon, or 2 durability weapon is good. 4 mana is pretty high for it. At first, when I thought summon copies of your totems, is like, what the heck? I mean, I guess a Bloodlust token Shaman is fine with that. But then I started thinking, wait a minute, you can actually replicate your evil totem with this and get an extra lackey, and you can replicate your Nightmare Amalgam. And so it's those instances that have me thinking there may be some potential with this card. It's a lot of comboing on one turn. But if actually the biggest thing I'm wishing for the Totem Shaman that I want to play is that we had the what was it? Not prismatic.
Thunderbluff Valiant?
Well, that obviously, but I'm thinking more off kilter. It was a 2-mana spell that gave all your minions Death Rattle summon a random totem. And
yeah, I don't remember what that was either.
Because as I was theory crafting this deck, I was like, I have to put Soul of the Murloc in there because, like, if I'm running a Bloodlust strategy, I have to have something that just continues, that gives me some kind of survivability on the board. So I don't know. I think there's maybe some potential with this, with the upsides. If we see any other strong totems, if we ever see like a legendary totem, there's always been the rumblings of maybe something like that. It could be interesting, but until then, it just won't see play.
Yeah, I mean, maybe in Wild with Thunderbluff Valiant, like I could see it. Like Totem Shaman's been a thing that they've tried to make work a number of times, and it's never quite been good enough. And I don't think I mean, if they get there, if they give it enough support, then yeah, this might see play. But I'm not seeing it.
Is this fetch?
This is very much fetch.
Okay.
Yes.
Can I give it a 2? Still,
2 is fine.
Okay.
2 is fine.
in Arena, it's probably the same.
Yeah.
Because at least you get an extra minion off it, and weapons are just really high value there. So the fact that you can hit your hero power and definitely get something else in addition to it is okay. It's just not
I
really
guess it just depends on how many weapons you're getting offered, right? Like that's like weapons are good in Arena. This is a bad weapon, but it's still a weapon. Yeah. So it's probably 3's probably fair.
I really want to. I haven't played with this deck because I want to get to Legend first. But once I get there, it's Totem Shaman all day long.
Well, if you have 150 gold, you can play in Embalming.
No, I don't want to waste my gold.
Yeah. Oh, I guess we should mention that because we talked about that last week. I actually reached out to Joe Mag and I asked him, is it the going to be the regular cadence that we're going to get a Brawlicium the first week of the expansion? He said he can't promise forever, but for right now, that's the plan.
Yeah.
So
which is great.
You should be, it should be your you should expect that there's going to be a Brawlicium and save like 300 to 500 gold for being able to do that. Because it's also good for like, I found that this is a quick aside, but I found it's actually pretty good for getting me to focus on one deck for more than like a couple games in a row.
Right.
So
especially when the tendency is the strongest to just swap from deck to deck on day one.
Okay, well, I want to try this now. I want to try this. I want to try this. Like, it actually forces me to play that many games in a row.
I had 18 decks in my collection today, so I feel.
Oh yeah.
So.
Yep. Earthquake's a 7-mana spell. Deal 5 damage to all minions and deal 2 damage to all minions. This is very, very good. It's a little bit on the pricey side, just in terms of how awkward it is to play. But when you play it, it is amazing, and it is the reborn killer, which is exactly why we need this, because all those reborn minions go back with 1 health. This kills them, and then they go away permanently. So it's a little bit too expensive to just run 2 of in every deck, but I think that it's any controlling style Shaman deck's going to be running at least 1 copy of this.
Oh yeah, for sure. You remember how powerful Volcano was back in the day, and this might be better than it just because it is so reliable. And yeah, it may be pricey, but I think there's just no reason to not run it. So I think it's an easy 5, honestly, in my book.
I think it is too. Yeah.
And in arena,
too. Yeah.
Probably. Yeah. I mean, the tough thing in arena is you can't protect your minions from this unless you've got like Ancestral Spirit or something like that. But
you play Twisting Nether, you play Psychic Scream, you play those cards that will do damage to your minions too if you need to clear a board. Like, you play those.
Yeah, I guess it's still a 5 there.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking you don't want it in every situation, and I feel like for arena, those are the 5 cards, are the ones that like you just always pick and you always play, and that's what you want.
I think you draft this almost. I mean, you probably wouldn't draft too many of them, but I think you would draft the first one. Like, you probably would snap pick it.
Yeah, you're probably right. Okay, so 5s across the board there.
Yeah.
Next one here is Weaponized Wasp, a 3-mana 3/3 beast, battle cry. If you control a lackey, deal 3 damage. We thought this was good. Actually, I guess I have seen some back and forth on the Twitter sphere amongst pros about this.
Really?
Yeah, I actually did see somebody saying this is a bad card, and that was the first time I had ever seen anyone say that, because on face value, lackeys are already good. There's a good chance you can get one on the board. I mean, if you just treat this as a 4-mana that you have to combo with a lackey, it's still really strong, because dealing 3 damage is just, like, you just have to respect that ability in every way. And for Battlecry's sake, Battlecry Shaman's a thing. I think you just slot this in there most of the time. I guess it's a little less reliable, like with Shudderwalk or something, but I don't care. Like, dealing 6 damage to something is really strong with that the double hero power.
You're very often just playing Shudderwalk on an empty board, so it doesn't matter. It's not hitting you. And I have to correct you, because you said it does 3 damage. I don't think I've ever seen it not do 6 damage.
Really? Because it's later in the game.
You play it after the quest.
Sure, yeah.
So it almost always does 6 damage.
And when you've got the lackey that deals 2 damage, you can
which
deals 4. You can deal 10 damage to something for 4 mana. It's This is why I'm not a fan of Battlecry Shaman. But
you super do, and you do that a lot.
Goodness.
And there is. Sometimes it will happen that you will not draw your lackeys, but in that deck, like, you get from the Sludge Slurpers and the Evil Cable Rats, you're getting 2 lackeys apiece usually after the quest is done. You generally can hold a lackey back to get the value out of this, and being able to do 6 damage on demand, it's real good.
Can we just give it a 5 and move on?
Yeah, we can. Yeah, in arena it's a 3-mana 3/3. And you're probably not picking those unless you have to, so it's probably a 2. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it's not.
I would go up to 3 just because, like, you're picking lackeys in arena no matter what. So, like, there's a good chance you've got some. I guess it's dependent on what,
right?
On which.
It depends on what sets are there, because your only lackey generator is going to be Evil Totem.
Yeah. So
if you're not getting offered Rise of Shadows along with it,
right? So we'll put it as a 2, but the value will go up if you've got Rise of Shadows along with it, I guess. So yeah. Okay.
So Mogu Flesh Shaper is a 7-mana 3/4 rush minion, which costs 1 less for each minion on the battlefield. And, like, I thought this was good, and I didn't realize, like, how good this card is. Like, this card has exceeded my expectations once I've been playing with it, because I forgot that Mutate is a card.
It is. Goodness.
So very often what you're doing is you're playing this, and you're playing it for close to free, and then you're value trading, and then you're using Mutate or Witchy Lackey on it. And Witchy Lackey, by the way, with the quest, triggers twice. You actually get a 9-drop.
Have I said that it's disgusting?
Yeah, like, all this stuff kind of comes together with the Battlecry Shaman. It's it's a sight to see once you start getting rolling with it. So I mean, first of all, just we've learned from Cardor Creeper that any card with this type of effect is good.
Or Sea Giant,
especially in Shaman. Yeah, Sea Giant too. And, especially in Shaman, because you have ways to evolve it. So I think this is probably a 5. I can't see, unless you're playing a really, like, off-the-board control Shaman, I can't see when you wouldn't want this card.
Yeah, even without Mutate, it's still like a highly discounted get back on the board mechanic. And if you're running lackeys, which you just are, if you get the new Titan Lackey, that gives it additional health and taunt. That's pretty good. If you evolve it, like you said, that's good. So, like, yeah, I think it is a very unassuming card at first glance, but it's actually pretty powerful. And I'm just thinking, I'm pretty sure we gave Mutate a 0 when we reviewed
We did,
it.
and we were very, very wrong. I don't think I don't like. I'm trying to think of a card that I have been more wrong on, and it might maybe it would be like Wagglepick might be a little bit more wrong, but not by much.
Yeah, Wagglepick. I was
like I've been really
so
impressed with Mutate.
5 in constructed in arena. It's still
Probably 4.
It's still fine. I think a 4 is about right. Yeah.
I mean, it's a 3 damage removal for something less than 7.
Yeah.
So
cool. Next one's Evil Totem, 2 mana 0/2 totem. At the end of your turn, add a lackey to your hand. So this is essentially Evil Cable Rat with upside. I mean, the downside is that you don't have attack inbred, but the potential upside is that if this lives a little bit longer, you're getting multiple lackeys. And I was up against some Shaman where I was not able to clear their board, and they ended up actually... Oh, that's the game I have to talk about, Steve. It was,
oh boy.
It was in the Brawliseum. It was a Battlecry Shaman. I can't remember what they played, but they mutated something and got Glinda Crowskin and played
this game. Okay,
infinite evil totems off of that. This was my night, and actually it was the 12 wins. So I forgot to say I did get 12 wins with Control Warrior with Armegadillo and Frightened Flunkies and the totems. I can't remember the mechs, the big guys.
Yeah. The Tomb Warden.
Tomb Warden, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they got that early in the game. This was I had lost twice. I'm 11-2. This is the do or die moment, and they get Glinda Crowskin and evil totems. Oh, it was so disgusting. Somehow I was able to pull that off. That game was absolutely bananas. That's an extreme example, though, just for this 2-mana card. This is very good, and this is the lackey generation that Shaman really needed to have in order to like justify Weaponized Wasp. That would still be a card even without this, but this is just really, really strong.
Yeah, I mean, I don't actually like this as much as the others as far as lackey generation, because you can't get 2 out of them immediately. Like, you don't get them immediately, and you don't get it. You still only get 1 even with the quest, and that's why I would go down to a 4 on it, because it's not. Yes, it can generate more than 1, but it's probably not going to. And the others will generate 2 with the quest, and this doesn't. So, and the Battlecry Shaman is really the use case where you're going to want maximum totems. So, I actually am a little bit unimpressed with it, but I mean, you still play it because you need lackey, so that's probably a 4.
Yeah, and I just think you have enough ways to buff the board. I mean, even with a witchy lackey, you can end up evolving this if it lives for too long or something. But I don't really see any downside to this. And
there's no downside to it. It's just it's not as good as the other ways to get lackeys generally. Sometimes you just top deck an evil totem. It's like, well, great, I can play this turn, and then I can do something next turn, as opposed to like an evil cable rat where you get it right away.
That's true. In arena, it's probably a 4 too.
Yeah, it's probably a 4.
A 4 as well. Excuse me. Let me use the correct vernacular to not be confusing there.
Yep. Is this me?
This one's you. Yep.
Okay, so Sandstorm Elemental is a 2-mana 2/2 battle cry. Deal 1 damage to all enemy minions. Overload 1. Have I said that battle cries are good right now?
Oh my gosh, it's so gross.
Like,
it's so gross.
This is 2 damage 1 at a time also, which isn't really relevant for something like Death Rattle or Reborn, but sometimes being able to do two damage independently is good. But I mean, this does 1 damage to a board, which is it's a Maelstrom Portal that overloads you for 1, and that's fair. And with the quest, it's 2 damage across the board, which is a lot. Like, being able to do 2 damage with 1 card for, I guess, 4 mana, but you're going to be doing other stuff it'll mitigate. It's real good. It's not busted, but it's a really good inclusion.
I've come up against plenty of Battlecry Shamans that are just able to manipulate the board where the double Sandstorm Elemental just clears the board, and then they've still got plenty of gas in the tank as far as minions are concerned. I think this is another... Shaman got a lot of unassuming cards that are actually very, very powerful. I think this is probably a 5 especially with the quest where it's at right now.
Yeah.
If the quest didn't exist, I think this would be somewhere in the 3 or 4.
I think yeah, it's an AoE that you need. I think I can go up there. I was kind of leaning on a 4, but I think I'm on borderline. I could go up to a 5 on it. And in Arena, it's probably a 4 too.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
A 4 as well? Is that what you meant?
Yes. A 4 also.
Okay, so we'll end on Totem Might. It's Totemic Surge. 0 mana spell, give your totems +2 attack. You thought that giving your totems 2 health for 0 mana was a deal. How about you give them the thing they don't have? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, if Totem Shaman, if there are some other decent totems, like if we had Totem Golem still, like, can you imagine getting those on the board and then buffing them with this? And I guess Thunderbuff
Wicked
Valiant.
Witch Doctor.
Yeah, Wicked Witch Doctor. Like, in Wild, maybe there's something to be said there. I think this is similarly like a card you don't necessarily want to sleep on. It's not going to cause waves right now. But if there's any kind of Totem Shaman in the future, you'll run Bloodlust and you will run this because you just want to be able to get enough to be able to take your opponent down to 0.
Yeah, and a Control Shaman might pick this off of like a random effect sometimes. Like, you might take this off of like a Swamp Queen Hagatha or something like that, or like a Haunting Visions. Like, if your board state supports it, and you can just kind of get some trades in. Like, that's not nothing, but I don't think you ever put this in your deck.
It's always great when we're making arguments for cards saying that's not nothing. Yeah. So
yeah,
I still don't want to go lower than a 2 because I think there is potential.
Well, you know what? I think we decided that fine is 3 last week, and I think it's not nothing is the definition of a 2. So
it's not nothing would normally be a 1, but I think it's better than not nothing. It's not much better, but
yeah.
And in Arena, it's probably is it a 1 or 0?
I think it's a 0. I don't think I can't imagine you're going like. Do you ever draft Totemic Might? I mean, this is slightly better than Totemic Might.
This is better. That's like the only thing I'm thinking is that with your hero power, you've got guaranteed totems on the board, kind of, but it's just not a strategy. You want something that you can play or that will actually affect the board rather than this. So yeah, I think 0's right there.
I mean, that's like saying that gas station hot dogs are better than starving, right? Like
they are.
Yes.
I'll take them, but yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay, on to Warlocks, and I think this one's me. We got Supreme Archaeology, 1 mana Warlock spell. Quest, draw 20 cards. Holy cow. Reward is Tome of Origination, which is a 2 mana hero power. Draw a card, reduce its cost to 0. And this is kind of a confusing card. Honestly, like if Plot Twist didn't exist, this couldn't work. So it's like if you don't have 2 copies of Plot Twist, don't even bother with this card. But there have been some really interesting takes on what's possible. I think it was Zalay who got Legend right before Saviors of Uldum hit with a Plot Twist Warlock. And I think that with this quest, it's kind of starting to become a thing. The hero power is just weird to take advantage of because what you need to be doing is running a deck that has a lot of big minions or a lot of expensive stuff. And with this hero power, if you hit one of those, you can basically play at the same turn as something else. So it's value-oriented, it's control-y oriented. There's just not really like a clear game plan with that. Now, all that being said, I know that there's a Mecha'thun deck you've been having a lot of fun with this, so I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, because I mean that's kind of where you get to is that you don't really care what you're drawing, you just care that you're drawing. So what you're doing is you're trying to plot twist early with as many cards as your hand, get the quest done, and then use that to just draw 2 cards a turn so you can get to your Mecha'thun. You don't care, like you have a game plan with like Galvanizer and Mecha'thun and Plague of Flames to get everything done, and you just want to get through your deck as quick as possible. So you want to be drawing 2 cards without hitting yourself in the face, and with being able to make those cards 0 just to be able to get them out of your hand.
Right.
And that's really the only, you don't care if they're value or not, you just want them out of your hand. And I mean, it does create some kind of weird scenarios, like getting a 0 mana Mecha'thun opens up a lot of options.
And I saw you get that too.
Yes. Yeah. So it's a fun deck, but yeah, it is weird and you need to be able to take advantage of it. And That's the only way that I've seen it's really worked. But I think that, as we get more cards, we can see something like that happen. I think as long as it exists with plot twist, which it will, there will be a way to do it. And then it's just a matter of what your payoff at the end. But Mecha'thun's not always going to be the answer, but I think this may also just be like Control Warlock isn't good enough to deal with the other, it's not better than Control Warrior, right?
Right.
If you're playing a control deck, it has to do something at least as well or differently than Control Warrior, and this just doesn't. So that's why that's not being played right now, but I think it has potential.
I think what I'm mostly disappointed in is that the hero power just doesn't do anything that different from what Warlock already does, which is draw cards. There's some upside there for sure, but you're just outside of plot twist, you're doing an insane amount of work. With plot twists, you're fine. I feel like it's probably a 3 at the best.
Yeah, it's a 3. It's not great. And the thing is that you don't know what you're getting, right? There's no way to manipulate the top of your deck.
Right.
So if there was a way to manipulate the top of your deck and know what you were getting and make sure that it was going to be 0, then it would be a lot better. And they could print that.
When honest, the Volpera card that they came out with has me, not that one. The one that
with
swaps.
the chicken?
The one that swaps the top card of you and your opponent's deck. That has me thinking and wondering if I don't think it's that crazy to think that there could be something like that in the next set or next year or something. I'm just bummed that Supreme Archaeology is kind of a downer card overall to me. But if you got it, it's not trash. And if you enjoy playing Mecha'thun especially, holla at your boy.
Yep.
So.
Yep. So next up is Dark Pharaoh Takan, which is one of the more controversial cards in this set. 5 mana 4/4 battle cry for the rest of the game. Your lackeys are 4/4. So immediately, the cry from the masses was, "Oh my God, Quest Rogue is back!"
Right.
And Quest Rogue is not back. Fetch is not happening. It's not. This is
wait. Fetch happened. Okay. If we're saying this is fetch, so.
Quest Rogue, this is not Quest Rogue. I know Quest Rogue. This is not Quest Rogue. Quest Rogue was broken because you had a lot of 1-mana cards that had keywords on them, like Charge and Taunt and Divine Shield, that you were able to replay over and over again, and that would allow you to be able to burst down your opponent and prevent them from being able to hit you again. This is all of the 1-mana minions that we're talking about. They become 4/4s, but they don't actually do anything other than their other abilities. They can interact with each other. You can have a Titanic lackey give one of the other ones taunt. That's a little bit annoying. But there's only so many lackeys you're going to get access to over the course of the game, because you have 6 total that you can get. And what this is doing is really just okay, from now on, these are not going to be embarrassing stats when you're playing them late game. and that's fine, right? Those 4/4s are just going to be 4/4s. They cost 1 mana, but how many of them are you actually getting? And that's why, there's a lot of debate on whether this card is even worth it. And I think Zoo's been starting to cut it even.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that Zoo typically just wants to go all in quickly, and this sort of makes you take a sidestep. A 5-mana 4/4 isn't great. I mean, if you have lackeys on board, they immediately change to 4/4s, so that's worth saying too, but it's not a game plan strategy. I have played with this, and it feels very strong. Zoo is a deck that's always been tough to completely get right, so there are always going to be a lot of variations on it. I like that at least there's something like this thrown in there that makes us think about, do we put lackeys in? Do we put Takan in? Evil Conscriptor, is that the 2-mana 2/2? Or Evil Recruiter, I think.
Evil Recruiter, yeah.
That Battlecry, kill a minion or a friendly minion and add 2 lackeys. You're playing that regardless. So then the question is
we'll talk about that when we get to that card.
Okay, all right. I think there's plenty of potential with this. My games that I've played with, I don't think I've ever been upset to see it. The thing is, your game plan can't rest on this by any stretch. To me, it's just all upside when you do draw it. So I still want to give it a 4, honestly, because I think that there's a lot of potential there.
I think it's a 3, unless we're going to see a lot more lackey generation in the next set. The problem is that by the time that you're playing this, you probably want to have played out all your lackeys already. This has a very decent potential to be a 5-mana 4/4 that does literally nothing for you.
I've never had it be that. I can see that, but it just hasn't been my experience.
Yeah, I mean, I just like how much value are you really getting out of it? Like, yes, those 1 mana minions are 4/4s, but like, what other value are you getting out of that? And
the thing is, by this point in the game, if you've been able to do your strategy and go face enough, you've got them about halfway down. And so doing this is just the extra kick in the pants that you need to be able to kill them.
yeah, but I mean, is that going to get you past a warrior? Probably not, right? Like if you're against a warrior or any sort of control deck, by the time that you're making these 4/4s, you probably need to have killed them already.
Is Zoo winning that game already though?
Well, no, but
that matchup it doesn't matter if you.
But what is it helping you, right? Like what matchups is it helping you? That's really what it comes down to, right? Like when you're trying to evaluate a card like this, like what matchup does it improve that you're not already winning?
I think it's less. I think it's less the matchups and it's more the board state. So in the instances where you've played out stuff, I mean, if you have the lackeys on board, obviously, like this just buffs them and it can win you the game straight up. Even if it doesn't, if your hand is lacking, I mean, you don't want to top deck this because it doesn't really do much, I guess.
Right.
So,
and it's like the Kaliseth effect, right? Like you have to get this. If you don't get this on curve, it's useless.
Yep.
Like if you're getting this late in the game, it doesn't matter. Like if you're top decking this after, if you don't have this, you have to play it on curve. You have to play it on curve. Like if you get this after turn 5, like and you're top decking, like this is beyond bad.
But that's how Zoo operates anyway.
Well,
Zoo chooses things that you play on curve. I think I'm going to pull rank on this, especially since I've played more with it, honestly.
I've done that with the priest cards. We can go to a 4 on it. I can't go higher than a 4.
I think a 4 is fair. And I think that everything you're saying is legit. I think that if you're really going with the Zoo strategy, it will be interesting to see if this ends up surviving. But I think that if we see any other lackey stuff in the next set, it'll only get stronger.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's also the fact that all the Zoos that I've seen over the last day or two have all cut all the lackey synergies entirely and have gone back down to just Evil Genius.
Crazy.
Yeah, so that'll go for Evil Conscriptor or Evil Recruiter too, but we'll get there.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's I'll go up to a 4 with you on this, but it's a 2 in arena. Like
2
it's a 5
mana
mana 4 in arena.
Yeah, that's all it is. Okay.
Yep.
Next one here is Rift Cleaver, 6 mana, 7/5 demon, epic minion, battle cry, destroy a minion. Your hero takes damage equal to its health. This is kind of crazy. It's like a fair Vile Spine Slayer, honestly.
Yeah.
If you clear something that has small health, sure, whatever, but really you want to use this to kill something with a lot of health that you can't kill any other way. And I think it is going to be a good tool because warlocks know how to get their health back. I guess we don't have Spellstone, so we missed that especially. But I think this is a fairly strong card and maybe one of the best mid-range demons that we've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we just need a list that plays it right now. I think it's just, again, this meta is not about big things for the most part. This meta is about a lot of little things. Mm-hmm. So this meta is not really suited for this card. But I think that there will be a meta where we are working around like a couple of big things, and this will be part of it when we have like a control warlock that is viable. So, or maybe even after a nerf that'll happen. I think this is probably a 4 just because it's not an auto include clearly because we haven't really seen it very much. But I think that it has a lot of potential when we're in the right meta that's going to suit it.
I still think that we're going to see some kind of mid-range demon list from Warlock in the next set, if not before.
Yeah, I think so.
And this is going to be a key part of that. So
it feels like we're only missing like 1 or 2 cards.
Yeah. And we need something like Mal'Ganis, honestly. Something that's
or even like that 4-drop that gave all your demons +1/+1 that was in one of those sets, minions? Right? No, it was like a 4 mana 5/4.
Okay.
That gave all your minions.
Crystal Weaver.
Yeah, or like Blood Fury Potion or something like that, right?
Sure.
Like you're just like 1 card off of being able to go to like a demon zoo or even like a mid-range demon list.
Something like that could just close out the game could be really huge. So in Arena, I'm tempted to give it a 5 just because removal is so huge there.
Yeah, I think so too. It's a hard removal and it's a minion that's developing. I think it's got to be. It has to be up there. Yeah.
I think that's good.
Yeah. Diseased Vulture is a 4-mana 3/5 beast that says after your hero takes damage on your turn, summon a random 3-cost minion. So this is actually what I've been seeing making its way into the zoo.
Right. No,
And
I've seen this there too.
And it makes sense because I mean it's 6 mana hero power. You're going to hero power a zoo anyway when you're at that point in the game and get another 3-drop. And you have other cards like Crystallizer, and you have maybe Spirit Bomb. I don't think the lists are running that. You have Flame Imp. You have the 4/5 that damages you when it attacks.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of ways to get value out of this, and 3-cost minions are generally okay to get randomly generated. So this seems like it's kind of the cornerstone of a new like self-damage zoo.
So this and we'll talk about Neferseth Thrasher. That's the one that deals damage every time it attacks. Like those two have been seeing a lot of play. This has actually been the other side of the coin for me because I've tried these out on Zoo, and after several games, I was kind of feeling underwhelmed. Like it's tough for me because I look at this card and it seems like it's all upside. There are plenty of ways that you can get the value out of it. It just never felt like I was in a state where I could do that, I guess. And as a 4-mana 3/5, it's okay, and it'll combat the board fine. You get one hit off of this, and it's probably worth it. So I think it's got a place. It's just a matter of can Zoo afford to have higher cost minions that are more about developing the game or the board long term rather than a lot of cheap stuff that you can just vomit out as fast as you quickly can.
Yeah, we played Saturday Chain Gang though.
That's true. Yeah.
I mean, if you're playing Neferseth Thrasher and then you're playing, I mean, that's a 3-drop. You're playing that into this, then attacking. Like you're getting 2 minions for 4 mana, so it's not that bad.
Yeah.
I think it's a 4. I mean, I'm not in love
fair.
with it. I haven't played very much. I haven't played any Zoo actually so far this expansion. I need to rectify that, but it seems like it's fine.
I think 4 is very fair. I feel like when I first saw it, it's like a 5 easy, and in my play, it's just been like this is a little more awkward to play than I expected, and I still I can't quite put my finger on it. In Arena, though, just the guarantee off of this, I think it's a 5 straight up.
I think it has to be. Yeah, I mean it's a 4-mana 3/5 which you draft just vanilla, and then having text that's easy to activate and doesn't require any additional cards because your hero power does it is pretty good.
Right.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Okay, next one here is Embalming. 4-mana spell, destroy a minion, shuffle 3 worthless imps into your deck. Those worthless imps, if you're not familiar, are 0-mana 1/1 demon minions. So 4-mana kills something.
Are they 0 mana? I thought they were 1. I thought they were 1-drops.
I'm pretty sure they're 0. I could be wrong.
Are they?
Okay. I could totally be wrong.
I thought they were 1-drops, but okay.
Destroying a minion for 4 mana is really and clogging up your deck is what's up for debate here more than anything, right? We've seen Crystal Potion?
Blast Crystal
Potion, thanks. That destroyed a minion, and it destroyed one of your mana crystals also. And that's all playing like Control Warlock, didn't it? Back in the day?
Reno Lock. It only saw play in Reno Lock because you couldn't play 2 copies of Siphon Soul.
Yeah. So like there's some potential here. The thing is like I think about putting 3 they're worthless imps, they're worthless cards that you're putting into your deck. So you're giving yourself 3 potential dead draws, and they're similar to bombs. They may not deal the health damage to you, but they are going to deal it in tempo oriented like for the game. So this is one to really be not too excited about, I guess, overall.
I mean, it really is. It is going to do 5 damage to you just from your opponent getting to hit you in the face because you drew dead, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or forcing you to tap, so you need to take 2 damage, right? Assuming that you haven't activated a quest by then. I've seen this run in some quest lists. I don't understand it. I just really don't. Like, I get that it's more minions, more cards in your deck to draw, but I don't get it. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. And like you could just run Siphon Soul and you can run Rift Cleaver. Like, yes, those cost 6 and this cost 4, but like you're going to pay for that later, and it's gonna be a lot more than 2 mana that you're gonna be paying for it later. I want to even go down to a 1 on this.
I think that's fair. In Arena, it's probably the same, honestly.
Yeah,
it's a 2.
Maybe it's a 2.
Yeah, destroying a minion could, especially if you don't have anything in your deck that can do that, then sure you'll take this near the end of your draft, but. because that effect is strong, but there are better ways to do it if you're choosing how to build your deck, essentially.
Yeah. So Expired Merchant is a 2-mana, 2/1 battle cry. Discard your highest cost card. Death Rattle, add 2 copies of it to your hand. This is weird. And I don't really like, I know that our friend Deck Tech was experimenting with like Soul Warden. So you discard it and then you get the Soul Warden back and you have infinite Soul Wardens. And maybe if you have that kind of time, like, good luck. I mean, I think the problem is just that, like, in Wild, I get it. Like, okay, well, I can have multiple Guldans and multiple N'Zoths, and like that seems very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
In Standard, like, what are you throwing away, right? Like, what are you trying to get? Like, Rafam, Chef Nomi, maybe Elysiana if you're going for like a really super late game deck, but like. And I mean, I guess what it's doing, assuming that you can actually kill it off, is you're kind of putting that card away for later.
Yeah.
But it's then you're gonna have 2 copies of that card that you can't play in your hand, clocking it up, right?
Did you say Mountain Giant though?
Yeah, Mountain Giant is one that would make sense, but that's gonna be hard. I guess it's not that hard.
Because especially if you're getting 2 back into your hand, it's like, man, you could actually play those out pretty quickly, you know?
Yeah,
so,
I mean, I don't hate the card. It's just like trying to figure out where it fits in is difficult.
That's totally fair, and I agree. But I think that the effect is strong. Like even if it's just investing into your future, it's probably worth it. I mean, I think that and the big thing for control-oriented decks is having cards that can combat in the early game that still help you in your late game somehow. And I feel like this one actually does it really sneakily well. So I like the card. And until we see some big control warlock changes or other cards that are going to help, you probably won't see much play other than like evolves and stuff for this. And
maybe Nomi's enough.
Sure,
right?
Yeah,
like sometimes you just need like 3 waves of Nomis, and like if you discard that twice with this and get 3 waves of Nomis, or you need to get like multiple Elysianas, like maybe that's enough. I don't know. It's like we haven't seen it, so it's hard to say. I feel like it's probably a 4 because it feels like it's going to be really strong, but I just can't figure out where the use case is right now.
Yeah. In Arena, it's probably a 3. Like you're probably, I don't know, duplicating one of your cards can be really good, especially if it's going to help you in your mid to late game.
As long as it's not a card that's stuck in your hand, yeah. Like if it's a card that you can't get out, then it's going to be a problem. Like if you're top decking this and you get rid of like, I don't know, like a Tip the Scales or something that you end up having to draft, right? And then you get 2 of them back. Well, great. Now I have 2 of these in my hand. It didn't do anything, but it probably is not going to happen that way a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's probably a 3, I would say.
I can go there. Sounds good. Next one here is Plague of Flames. 1 mana warlock spell. Destroy all your minions. For each one, destroy a random enemy minion. Goodness, like we didn't understand Rafam's scheme, and now we do, because like this is crazy. And you don't even necessarily need Rafam's scheme for this to be good. It's the activator that Mecha'thun needs, so it's good for that effect as well.
For any death rattle, really.
Sure.
Like you can play eggs, right? Like you can like you're playing Zoo with scarab eggs and serpent eggs, and like okay, well I'll blow up my minions and I'll get more minions and you won't. Like that's fine too, right?
And actually, like I was playing a Flood Zoo list right before Saviors Unleashed with Scarab Eggs. And the tough thing with like playing Grim Rally is that you actually want to activate your egg and then use Grim Rally somehow, because so doing Plague of Flames with the Scarab Egg on and then being able to Grim Rally is actually not. Or it is a big deal, I guess. So this card has a lot of functionality. I think it's very good. It's very interesting, and it plays really well into Warlock's style of sacrificing stuff to have big effects. So I think it's probably a 4. I could be talked into a 5 potentially, but
no, I don't think it's that good. I don't think it's that good. I think because I don't think it goes in every deck. I think you need to have a deck that floods the board in order to really make use out of it.
You have to have stuff on the board in order for it to.
Yeah. So I think it's probably a 4, but I think that in certain decks it's going to be core. Yeah.
Yeah, and in Arena, it's tough.
It's probably a 3. I feel like it's not as good as in Constructed, but I don't think it's quite as bad as it looks like it could be. I mean, obviously if you top deck it's bad, but even if you can just get like 1 minion against a big minion, then you can even at least have like a shot at getting rid of something that's bad.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yep. So Evil Recruiter is a 3-mana 3/3 battle cry. Destroy a friendly minion to summon a 5/5 demon.
A friendly lackey.
A friendly lackey. Sorry, what did I say?
Minion.
Friendly demon. Okay.
Important.
Yeah, that's
just important.
Difference.
Like
that's a big difference.
There's a specific minion that this has to target in order for it to do something crazy.
Yeah, I mean, if you're playing lackeys, if you're playing all the lackeys in your deck, getting a 3/3 and a 5/5 for 4 mana and along with the lackey effect is really strong. The problem is that this is not great if you don't have a lackey and you have unlike Battlecry Shaman, where you can generate a pretty much infinite supply of lackeys with all of the doubling of the battle cries, and even then playing Shudderwalk and getting a whole bunch more of them. Like, you have 6 to work with in Zoo, in Warlock, and so you have to. And if you're not playing this with a lackey, you're pretty much just playing a 3-mana 3/3, which you don't want to do.
It could be worse, but the problem is Warlock has a 1-mana 3/2, so
right.
As far as tempo is concerned, this isn't what you want. Like, I know I said this about Disease Vulture, but I felt very similarly with this. I mean, when this got revealed, it was like 3 mana of 8/8. That's insane.
Right.
But this has also been another underwhelming card when I play it. There were actually more times than not that I had played Tikan already, and I've got a 4/4 and I've got this in hand, and it's like, I guess I'll upgrade it to a 5/5, but why am I playing this card if that's the case? Like, if you have the dream and are able to coin this out on turn 3 with a lackey, then that's great, but that just doesn't happen as often as you'd like it to. So it's got some potential. It's just in play it doesn't do as well as you'd think it would. And I guess that's a matter of when you're playing it, why you're playing it, and if there are other cards that can get you to what you want to do quicker. And the answer is surprisingly yes. So
yeah, I mean, this is like another example of the cards that look broken often aren't.
Yeah. And
this card looked broken and it isn't, right? So because they've tested this within an inch of their lives, they're comfortable releasing it in that broken looking state.
Yeah, and honestly, in my mind, that's exactly the kind of card they want to release. Is something that looks broken and that people really want to try out, but is very much kept in check. So.
And it feels great when you play it, right?
Yeah,
like you're getting a 3 and a 5/5 for 4 mana.
When you
like,
get
it feels
that,
great.
it's insane. Yeah.
It's just that, it takes a certain sophistication to player to recognize how often that's actually happening.
Yeah.
So I think it's closer to 3s than 5s.
I think 3 is right. Yeah.
And probably in Arena. I mean, again, it's a 3-mana 3/3, which in Arena you're not thrilled about, but you'll take it.
Yeah, probably a 3 there too.
Yep.
Just in case.
Yeah. Is this?
This one's mine. Yeah. Sinister deals a 1-mana spell. Discover a lackey. It's like the other 1-mana spells. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's just
you need lackeys.
Yeah, and lackeys are generally good. This is the first time we've been able to discover one, to my knowledge. They've always been random before this, I think, right?
Yeah.
So there's, I mean, we're perfectly fine with getting a random one in basically any scenario. So being able to discover one is pretty significant. It still gets cut, unfortunately, because like the Lackey Zoo wants to do what Zoo does, which is play something all the time. And this delays it a little bit, which a little bit may be just enough. So it's fine. It's pretty balanced, which means it won't see much play.
Yeah, I mean, the Lackey Zoo would have to be better, and it's not, right? Like, it's like Evil Totem. Like, Evil Totem is fine, too, but you have a strong motivation to get as many lackeys as possible in the Battlecry Shaman. And the payoff in Warlock is not as good. So then it gets cut. So it's probably... I mean, it's fine if you need lackeys. It's probably a 3. I mean, it's like, if you need lackeys that badly, you're going to play it, but you're not going to be excited about it. And in Warlock, in Arena, you're probably a 2.
Yeah, there's just not a lot to say. It's surprising to me, though, that a lackey generator is so underwhelming, but and yet so fair at the same time. But
Fire Morale doesn't see play either, to be fair.
Oh, that's true. That's a good point.
Neither does the Priest Death Rattle dude. So they're not all winners.
They can't all be.
No. Nephroset Thrasher is a 3-mana 4/5. When this attacks, deal 3 damage to your hero. So 3-mana 4/5 is those are okay stats.
That's a big boy.
You take that. And in a deck that's going to play this, you're turning that disadvantage into advantage because you're doing things like Diseased Vulture and whatnot that are taking advantage of your hero, and like Nether Soul Buster and stuff like that that are going to take advantage of your hero being damaged. So I mean, in that deck, it's probably a 4. I mean, it's seeing play in every zoo list right now, so that kind of says it all.
The tough thing is that this guy has to go face, because like he's putting pressure on yourself while you're putting pressure on your opponent, and he's dealing 4, you're getting dealt 3. So like this is probably the
you can value trade with this if it's going to save you that much damage. If you're going to take more than 3 damage, you can trade something into that.
Yeah, you just can't indefinitely value trade with it. I
mean, it's like a weapon, right? Like you,
yeah,
like if you think
no,
about
that's
a weapon,
point.
right?
That's a good point.
Like
yep.
you're gonna be taking sometimes 3 or even more damage than that, and you just do it because the tempo's worth it.
But weapons are really good when you go face with them, which doesn't deal you any damage.
Depends if it's a 1/3 that bangs 2 minions into each other. That's not so great to go face with.
That's true. I mean, the fact that this is just so much stats in one package, like it's going to find a place. There's no question about that. It's just a matter of can it generate enough? And I wonder if we'll see other stuff like Diseased Vulture that'll give you even more value. And then if you can get a couple things off that. So it's probably a 4 across the board.
Yeah. I think so. All right, 1 class to go.
Hey,
and it's the class that we're both surprisingly the most familiar with.
Yeah, we've played a lot of Warriors so far. So
well, we both got with very different lists, gotten 12 wins in Brawl.
Yes, that's true.
This week. So
and I don't think either of us were running the quest, but we have to start there. So go ahead.
Yeah, we do. So Hack the System is a 1-mana quest. Attack 5 times with your hero. Reward.
Anrefet. I like that.
It's too late for pronunciation.
Anrefet.
Yeah, which is 2 mana, summon a 4/3. That's not a mech. It's just a vanilla minion. And after your hero attacks, refresh it. So if you are using weapons, you need to use weapons in order to activate the quest, and then afterwards, attack with weapons allows you to get an extra 4/3. And this looks like it should be better than it is. The problem is that so you and I both got 12 wins in Brawl. You did it with a full-on control warrior, and I did it with a full-on aggro face warrior. And this doesn't fit in either of those because this is too slow and too value-oriented for the aggro warrior. And in the control warrior, you're not playing this because it's taking away a card in your mulligan, and then Dr. Boom is going to overwrite it. Or vice versa. So either way, it's bad for those reasons. So it just doesn't fit in either of the decks. Now, if Dr. Boom gets touched, we could be having a very different conversation. Because if this is not significantly below Dr. Boom in power level, then I could see you running something like this. But right now, there's no reason to do this because it's too slow for a deck that's going to not run Dr. Boom. And in a deck that's going to run Dr. Boom, Dr. Boom's just going to win.
Yeah. I think that there's potential because this hero power being able to give you indefinite value by doing the thing that you designed your deck to do is pretty strong. It's basically constant pressure, which that is a win condition. Yeah. If your opponent can't keep up with that, then you're in a good place. But yeah, there's just too much other really strong warrior stuff. It goes without saying too that like even I can't imagine that we don't see some kind of change to Dr. Boom at some point. And
I think we're gonna
but regardless, he will rotate out of standard for sure at one point. And at that point, I think that this becomes a very tempting offering, even maybe in a weird way for Control Warrior, because like Control Warrior wants to be able to outlast the opponent, wants to be able to have stuff. It's a more proactive Control Warrior for sure, but I don't know. Like if they had more defensive weapons like the blade that they got,
I mean, the thing is right now, with the way that Dr. Boom is right now, it turns every one of your minions into a removal spell.
Right.
And these aren't, right? Like these just sit there. And like I played against one of these on the 12-win run, and I just ignored them and went face.
Sure.
And then they weren't doing anything except pressuring me back, but I just like, fine, I'll just go face and I'll outrun you. So like the difference between that and Dr. Boom is that Dr. Boom turns every one of your minions into a removal spell, and this doesn't do that.
Yeah.
So and this is making you not play Dr. Boom. So until that changes, this again, we're getting back into Fungalmancer territory where we gave Fungalmancer a really bad, I'm not even gonna speak for you. I gave Fungalmancer a very bad rating because it was competing directly with Bone Mare, and then as soon as Bone Mare got nerfed, it got a lot better. This could get a lot better after Dr. Boom gets nerfed, but until then, it's a 2.
So I think we give it a 3 because of that.
I think that's fair. Yeah. Yep, that's fine.
I do also want to see some additional weapons, but Warrior's going to get more weapons, you know. I did lose to a Quest Warrior, honestly, that was just able to pressure me enough, and then they had a lot of 4/3 golems that I didn't have answers for. So I think even right now it's not the best Warrior strategy, but it's a good Warrior strategy, and I think that in the future it could be the best, potentially, so... We'll see.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, right now it's not, but it could either get more support or it could get rid of Dr. Boom.
Yeah.
So
next one's my BFF, our Megadillo, 6 mana 4/7 beast with taunt, and at the end of your turn, give all taunt minions in your hand +2/+2. Boy, have we been on a ride since we saw this minion, because now we're living in a land where it is the baseline for Control Warrior to have this card, because if it buffs Ziliax one time, it was pretty much worth it. If it buffs Tomb Warden one time, it was pretty much worth it. If you get this off Frightened Flunky, you've got 2 Armageddillos in your deck, and that's probably worth it. Like, just the fact that the stats are perfectly fine on its own, like, the minion, especially in that mid game, fills a really good slot of being able to slow down your opponent. And I don't think I've yet had a game, I'm sure I will have one, where I wasn't able to play this on turn 6 with something in my hand that could get buffed by it. So, like, the chances of it being upside are really good, and then the fact that we've got some really strong taunt minions to go alongside it, it's just good.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't pull this, but I played against it enough, and I'm never happy when it comes down.
Sure.
And it doesn't even matter like how many minions it hits. It's just like, oh god, like,
even just the feeling of like, when's it gonna drop? Because something is gonna happen, and not to mention the times you get 2 buffs off of this when your opponent can't deal with it, and you've got 8, 10 Tomb Wardens. Yeah,
So you've played with this. Is this a 4 or is it a 5? I'll defer to you because I haven't played with it.
You know, it's funny because like, I'm having one of those moments where I'm having to slow myself down and really think legitimately about it. It's a 5. Like, everything in my gut says it's a 4, but like, when have I ever been upset to play this? Never. And
you're gonna play it in Control Warrior every time, right? Like,
if Control Warrior gets any other taunt minions, it only gets better. And honestly, like, spoiler alert, Frightened Flunky is like all you need, I think. And Tomb Warden is a really big deal too. Yeah. So I think this is a 5, honestly.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
In Arena, it's probably no less than a 4 because, like I said, even just on its own, it's good. If you have any taunts in your hand, it's upside from there. So and
even
the
if
tempo,
not, it's a 4/7 taunt. That's fine.
Yeah. So
I'll give it. I go with 4 with that. That's fine.
Cool.
All right. So
if I got to talk about that card,
now we go to my bananas card, which is Bloodsworn Mercenary, 3 mana 3/3 battle cry. Choose a damage friendly minion, summon a copy of it. Holy cow! Is this card's way better than it seems? Like, the only reason that people are not complaining about this card yet is because this deck hasn't gotten out, and because Warrior is so control oriented right now.
Mm-hmm.
But gosh, this game won me cards by itself multiple times. Like, not even like the obvious use case is Leroy Innerage, right? That's 16, right? Like, from hand for 8 mana. And I did get a win, or I would have if they hadn't AFK'd and then left with for 10 mana with Bloodsworn Mercenary, Leroy, and Cruel Taskmaster.
Mm-hmm.
So you have multiple ways in that deck with the activators to get like a big burst finish like that. But you don't even need to use it that way. Like, I had a couple of games where I just won on like turn 3 or 4 with Temple Berserker, which is the 1/3. Is it 1/3 or 1/2? I forget. Reborn. That when it's damaged gets +2 attack. So I Inneraged
1/2,
2 mana 1/2.
Mm-hmm.
So I Inneraged that and then hit it with a Bloodsworn Mercenary. And on turn 3, I had 2 5/1s and a 3/3.
Wow.
And like, what do you do? Like, you know, and the 5/1s come back as 3/1s. Like,
I hope
what
you have
do?
Warpath, because otherwise you're not in a good place.
Yeah, if you don't have Warpath, then you're done. Like, there's nothing you can do. And like even Restless Mummy, like, okay, well, I'm gonna hit into something, and or inner rage it, and then I get to remove 4 minions, right? Like there's just so many uses for it, and it's not just like Leroy for lethal. It's really flexible, and it rewards being creative with the minions. I really having a hard time giving it anything lower than a 5.
Yeah.
Because it literally straight up won me several games in that run.
Yeah, this just enables games. It enables deck archetypes. It enables so much. It's the fact that it's so cheap too. Like at 3 mana, you can find a lot of different things to go with. And I think the other, like, better than I do, but the thing that's been in the back of my mind is that even if you can't quite pull off your combo, I feel like you can still get something fairly decent from it, even if you're like in a pinch or something like that. So yeah, I think a 5 is perfectly fair. In Arena, like, there are even times that I think you don't mind just getting something that's been damaged because there are lots of times you're going to have something that's been damaged.
I mean, it's a 3/3 that gives you another minion most of the time. Like, it's not that hard to end up with a damage minion.
The stats are hard to argue with.
Yeah, I think it's probably a 5 in Arena too.
Sure, yeah. Just pick it. Okay, next one here is Livewire Lance, 3 mana 2/2 weapon. After your hero attacks, add a lackey to your hand. The lackey generation is interesting this set. And like this weapon screams the quest because it's something that gives you extra value. You can attack more off. Actually, I don't know why it screams the quest. Here's the big thing I didn't expect with this card.
It screams the quest because it's a weapon. No,
you're right about that. The thing that surprised me about this card is when I've seen it played against me, especially in the Quest Warrior decks, it's usually played alongside Upgrade or even Captain Greenskin or something like that. It gets pretty scary pretty fast because you get a lot of lackeys off of it, and all it takes is one +1/+1 buff for this minion or for this weapon to get pretty out of hand.
Yeah, I play because both those are in that list. Like, it's not been amazing. It's been very good. I wouldn't play the list without it, but I've had people, like, I've been talking in my Discord today about this deck, and I've had a bunch of people saying, well, I didn't pull 2 of these. I crafted 2 of them because I'm me, and I'm trying out as many lists as I can, so I'm going to be a little bit more liberal with crafting than most people at this point. Right. Like, I've told people, like, you can just play Fiery War Axe or Wrench Caliber and place this, you're probably fine.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's not that much better. The 2 attack really does not do a whole lot, all things considered. Like, you're not really removing all that much with two attack, which is kind of the biggest downside. You get the lackey to make up for it, but you don't really have any ways to take advantage of lackeys in Warrior at the moment. I expect in the 3rd set we will get a way to do that, and then this will get much better.
Yeah.
And I think that it's good in terms of giving you value and giving you more things to do. It's probably a 4, but I wouldn't go as high as a 5 on it.
Yeah, I think that with the right stuff around it, with which upgrading Greenskin are evergreen essentially, so you're always going to have something like that. If there are any other ways to buff it, then that only makes it better. So yeah, Warlock got a lot of lackey support in this set, and so I would expect,
as did Shaman.
Yeah, and Shaman. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. So I think you're right that Warrior is probably, maybe they're holding off on the most powerful stuff. Who knows? So yeah, I think 4 is fair and constructed. In Arena, it's probably a 3.
It's still a weapon.
The lackeys are good. The weapon is okay. A 3 mana 2/2 just isn't that exciting, but the lackeys can make up for it. So I think you'll pick this pretty often.
I think so.
Cool.
Yeah. Into the Fray is a 1 mana spell. Give all taunt minions in your hand +2/+2. This is not Armadillo. This is not even close. You just don't have room for a card like this most of the time. Like, if you get it off of a lackey or something, then great. But like, generally, like something like a Smuggler's Run was really never played.
Right. It was played in aggressive lists.
Yeah,
and even then it didn't great. It didn't do great.
Even then, you're still losing tempo to play it, and you're losing a card slot to play it. And how many taunts are you actually running that you're going to hit this with the one time? Like, the Armadillo at least comes with a body that also is a relevant threat in and of itself. This is just like 1 mana do nothing some amount of the time.
Yeah, I saw this finding a place in some like all-in taunt warrior, but that's just not what makes sense. And your example with Paladin is right on the money. So I think it's probably a 1, honestly.
Yeah, and in Arena it's probably a 0. I don't think you ever draft this.
Don't do it. It's not even a trap. It's not even trying, really. So, Plague of Wrath is the 5 mana plague for Warrior. It reads, destroy all damaged minions. This is Beneath the Fins.
Sleep with the Fishes.
Sleep with the Fishes. This is Sleep with the Fishes on crack. And I haven't gotten to play with this card much. There's been a lot of Control Warrior lists that are doing one of this in there, because Brawl is probably still better. I feel like and Warpath is just insanely good still. So this fits Warrior flavor-wise, but it's just not as good as the other things. So I think it's the first to get cut. The Brawliseum list that I used didn't have this in it, and I didn't really miss it because the truth is, like, if you run those really strong taunt minions, you don't have to worry about clearing the board very often.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there are times that Brawl will fail you.
Yeah.
And this will definitely destroy the ones that you want to destroy.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't played enough Control Warrior to really say, so I'll defer to you on this. It seems like when I've had it played against me, I was unhappy with it, with the result as the opponent, which is kind of the intended effect. So.
Yeah, it's still good. It's just that there's other options that are going to be there, and I like the first thing you think about with this is playing it with Warpath, and it's like,
right.
Don't do that, So
or Dinomatic. I mean,
Dinomatic's a big one too. Yeah, no, that's true. So it's probably a 4, and I just don't want it most of the time. I'm not big on it right now, and maybe it'll change.
So you do get to the point sometimes where you need more than 2 brawls, and then you have an option, right? Yeah. So.
And in Arena, it's probably a 4 also.
I would say so.
For all the same reasons, pretty much.
Yep.
So
Tomb Warden is an 8-mana 3/6 taunt mech. Battlecry, summon a copy of this minion. So generally, you will have this by the time you get around to playing Armadillo, and then it becomes to 5/8s, which are really obnoxious. And it's just even if you don't hit them, even just 2 3/6s is a gigantic pain to get rid of.
Oh yeah.
And then you're going to get these off of Dr. Boom sometimes. You'll get these off of Mega Assembly sometimes. Yeah, there's a reason Control Warrior is kind of everybody's complaining about it right now.
If this weren't a mech, it would still be really good.
Yeah, it would.
But the upside that you can magnetize on top of it with what you get off of Mega Assembly or whatever, it's just
that they'll rush with Dr. Boom out.
Oh my gosh, yeah, and like. 3/6 is a Fen Creeper with taunt, so you're getting 2 of them for 8. That's fine. Like the downside is that when you're playing later in the game, they're not quite as impactful on their own. It's so good.
There's still a wall. You're still building a wall to make your opponent pay for it.
It's an easy 5 in my book. Really, in both. I think it's fine in Arena even on its own.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's easily one of the strongest cards in the set.
Yeah.
This next one is you, actually.
Yeah, next one's Restless Mummy, 4-mana 3/2 with Rush and Reborn. So this was the first Reborn minion we saw, and probably the best?
Yeah, I would say so. It's probably up there with like Kartut Defender, maybe.
Yeah,
or Bone Wraith. It might be close with Bone Wraith.
Both of those are really strong. This is the most proactive one that we have for sure. And honestly, like I think in my Brawl scene, I was definitely playing 2 of these. I think I wasn't even playing Militia Commander, so it's just like this just replaced it because it's better. I think. I was just never upset about it. It seemed like I was able to do too much too quickly. Yeah. This is removal that is really efficient and really strong.
Yeah, I think the aggro list runs 2 of these in 1 Militia Commander.
Okay.
Because I don't even know if we're running Ziliax in that list. I think Ziliax is actually too slow for that list.
Sure,
to be
makes sense.
Completely honest.
Yeah.
But this is really good. Just because it's removing 2 minions. It's 2 3-attack minions. If you kill off the first one, you get to do another attack right away because the other one has rush.
That's right.
So and again, when it's damaged, you can do things like copy it. You can give it Inner Rage and then have the first one do more damage. Like there's a lot of things you can do with it. It's really flexible. It's really strong. I think it's what it's going to come down to in terms of this versus Militia Commander is like. What are you attacking into? Is it going to be more important to have one big attack, or is it going to be more important to have 2 smaller attacks?
Right.
And that's really going to depend which ones you're using.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's at least as good as Militia Commander, if not better.
In the world where Evil Miscreant was still a 1/5 minion, you'd rather play Militia Commander because this won't die to it.
Kill it off.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I think it's 5s across the board easily.
Yeah. I mean,
still.
even now, Evil Miscreant, it doesn't kill it. Right.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Even as a 1/4, like it still just kind of sits there.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think it's 5s across the board. I think it's really, really good.
Cool. And Armored Goon here is the last one.
Yeah. Didn't I just do Restless?
No, I did Restless Mighty.
Oh, okay, sorry.
It was so good you didn't even remember. But
I know. Armored Goon is a 6-mana 6/7. Whenever your hero attacks, gain 5 armor. Sure. It's Boulder Fist Ogre. Most of the time, it's going to be Boulder Fist Ogre. If you happen to be playing enough weapons for it to matter, then maybe you can get some armor, but it's Boulder Fist Ogre, and we don't play Boulder Fist Ogre.
Yeah.
So
it's tough because like that Quest Warrior deck would want something like this, except the gaining 5 armor isn't really what you want. I think you want to be more aggressive.
I mean, I guess you probably do because you're probably banging your face into stuff a lot.
Yeah.
But
yeah, so it does give you survivability, and especially if you've replaced your hero power and you don't have access to armor, I guess there's some upside there. But
it's so slow,
it's
right?
Clunky,
like it's a 6-mana 6/7. Like that's way slower than you need to be going in that deck. Mm-hmm. So it just doesn't fit.
I think 3s are probably fair because like maybe there's something.
I think it's a 2 for constructed. I think you're gonna have a hard time just finding. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think you're just gonna have a hard time finding room for it in a deck. I think in Arena it's like in Arena you'll take Boulder Fist Ogre and you'll be unhappy about it, but you'll take it. Yeah. And this is a Boulder Fist Ogre with a little bit of upside
potentially.
In constructed though, I think it's a 2. Yeah.
Right. That's fair. Okay, on to the neutral legendaries, or at least the ones that we haven't talked about yet. So let's start off with Siamat, a 7-mana 6/6 elemental battlecry. Gain 2 of Rush, Taunt, Divine Shield, or Wind Fury. That is your choice. This was one of the goldens that I got from pre-orders, and I haven't played it yet. Because
so it's fantastic.
Yeah, honestly, I wasn't excited about it before, and I'm still not that excited. It's a fine card. I just there's nothing about this that's like, yes, I really want this in my deck necessarily.
It's a Highlander card. It is basically where I've seen it played.
Mm-hmm.
It's when you have to fill 30 individual slots, it's making its way in. It's in a lot of the Highlander mages that I'm seeing right now. Yeah. Which I know because I don't have it and I don't want to craft it.
Sure. It seemed like 90% of the time you're choosing Rush and Divine Shield.
Or sometimes you're choosing Rush and Wind Fury depending on what the
yes.
The board state is.
Or Wind Fury and Divine Shield, calling your opponent out on not having removal, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you're playing on an empty board, you could pick Divine Shield and Taunt. I don't know. I haven't played with it, so I don't know. It seems like it's fine. It doesn't seem like it's particularly exciting, and it doesn't seem like it's something you're going to go out of your way to include. But if you have extra room in your deck, you probably just put it in there. So.
That's
probably the definition of a 3, isn't it?
That's exactly what I'm thinking. For the Highlander construction, I definitely see how you probably go quickly to this just because it's going to be an additional removal since you don't get 2 of stuff. But in an arena, maybe it's a 4 there.
It's probably a 4 in arena, yeah.
Because this is one of the more proactive legendaries that you can have, which is a good thing, and there aren't too many of those. So cool.
All right.
Here we go, Steve. Here we go.
Zephyrs the Great is a 2-mana 3/2 battle cry. If your deck has no duplicates, wish for the perfect card. So I don't think we need to talk about how this card comes together. There's been a lot of discussion about it.
Hopefully you've read about
it. All the logic that's going in, and basically it's deterministic. It's not machine learning. It's that all the cards are kind of given categories, and then it will look at the board state and not the entire board state. Apparently, it looks like if your opponent has a weapon but doesn't look at the text on the weapon. So, it will... because I was noticing this... you could just go to Twitter and just follow the pros, and you'll see all the different complaints about why it does things. Because I noticed... One of the things that I noticed was that they said that it wasn't giving you, Acidic Swamp Ooze when your opponent has a Super Collider, because it just looks at it as a one-attack weapon and doesn't think it's a threat. Right.
And this is especially hard for pros because they know what the perfect card is because they're better at analyzing those things than this card is. But, it's interesting. It will only choose out of classic or basic cards. So you've got that limited pool, and it'll use whatever mana you have remaining to try and give you an option you can play this turn. If you don't have mana, it'll just default to the next turn. So that's like the Reader's Digest version, I guess. But it's just it's really tough to be able to know for sure, especially with as little as we know right now about how the card works, to know exactly what you're getting. I mean, the big question, and I'll give you the softball pitch with this one, Steve, is does this make building a Highlander deck worth it? Because you've got the league cards, and on their own, they can't be enough. But if there's a neutral like this that does the same thing, like potentially if it's good enough, it can make sense for these Highlander decks. But if it's not, so like where are you landing in this?
I even crafted it, right? Because I felt like I needed to do science with the deck, with the card. And I felt like I needed to try it for myself before I really came down hard on it. And because my feeling from the very beginning is that this is a trap card, that in general, you are going to be better off just putting 2-ofs in your deck. And that this is what this is doing, right, is like, this is like the coin for Highlander decks. So like the reason that you get the coin as the second player is to offset whatever the downside is of going second, right? Like you don't have initiative, you don't get to make the first move, you're always kind of responding. It gives you one turn where it says, okay, for this turn, I'm going to get to flip the tables and I'm going to get an advantage that my opponent doesn't have, and that's supposed to make up for whatever that disadvantage is of playing second. This is the same thing, except it's saying, well, this is going to give you one turn where you're going to not be a Highlander deck, and you're going to get the perfect card that you probably would have gotten anyway if you were just putting 2-ofs in your deck. Right? Like, the whole reason that we put 2 copies in a deck is to make sure that you're drawing the cards that you need when you need them, because it reduces the probability greatly of not having that card when you need it. Right? So this is saying you're going to not have the card when you need it a lot of the time, but for one turn, you're going to have exactly what you need and not have to worry about it. Does that make up for the rest of the turns where you're not drawing what you need? Does it make it better that you're drawing Messenger Raven instead of a second Conjurer's Calling? Or Power of Creation instead of a second Mountain Giant? I don't think it does. I think that the reason that Highlander Mage is so powerful right now is because you basically can just put 30 mage cards in a deck and win games.
And they're good enough.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? So, and I'm, I know we're not addressing chat mostly, but I want to make sure to address this because BR in Milwaukee has a point that if your deck becomes Highlander during the game, it can be nice. Well, yes. But, I mean, even if you're playing Myra's Unstable Element, I don't think it's worth it. Like, because this is just a completely dead card until you've drawn, like we've done this with Reno. Right? Like we tried when Reno was first introduced many moons ago. Like we tried okay, well, what if I just run like 4 duplicates because I really, really want 2 copies of this card? And very often it was a disaster because you would never draw those cards. There would always be a case where one of those pairs of cards would be at the bottom of your deck. Right? And it's going to happen some like 30% of the time or something like that. So, I mean, I don't like the idea of running Zephyrs just if you're going to draw your deck naturally, because just sometimes it's just going to be completely dead. Even with Myra's, you still have to draw Myra's first, and then it's not good. So, is the card a good card? Yes. In a vacuum, yes. Is it going to win games? Absolutely. It will look for lethal. So if you have lethal within one card, it will give it to you. And so, if you are in Bloodlust range or in Pyroblast range, it will give you those cards and you will win the game. Would you have just gotten there better, more consistently by just putting 2-ofs in your deck? I think so. But, obviously the Highlander decks are winning right now. So I don't know. What I don't know is if what's hard to say is, are these Highlander decks better than just running Cyclone Mage? Because more people are playing the new stuff because it's fancy, right? And I think what we'll see is we'll probably see that as we get the Seoul qualifier or the Bucharest qualifier data coming back.
Sure.
And see how many people are playing Highlander decks and seeing how well they're actually performing in that kind of a context.
Or even at the Master's Tour, like what
Yeah,
they
yeah,
choose, if
yeah.
they're going to go with the Highlander or if they're just going to go with what's proven. I mean, the only other thing I'll throw in there is that I did play a lot of Murloc Paladin on day one, and
Oh yeah, yeah. In that deck, it's good.
I
Yeah,
climbed from 5 to 4 with that, and it was because
yeah.
it like you just tutor and draw your deck completely, and then you play this at the very end if you need an extra fireball or something, and it's great.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think that's the one caveat. Like, if your deck is literally going to draw itself in the first like 10 turns, and you're pretty much expecting to be able to play that for specifically to get you lethal at the end of a game plan like that, it's probably okay.
Yeah.
Like in the Murloc Paladin, it works.
I think there's an aggro rogue list right now that's also
Well, yeah, that runs Myra's.
Yeah. So I want to push for a 4 just because I think there is a place.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I mean, it's in the deck that wants it. It's good. I don't think I have a problem with the card. I have a problem with the deck that you have to build around the card.
Sure. I can understand that. And in Arena,
it's going to be the same thing that we did with all the rest of the Highlander cards. If you get it early and you can draft around it, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
If you get it late in the draft, you drafted a bunch of duplicates, it's going to be undraftable.
So 3 is.
So I mean, it's not completely undraftable because it's still a 2-mana 3/2. Maybe you draft it anyway.
Yeah.
So maybe it is a 4 because maybe you can just draft it. Worst case, it's a Bloodfen Raptor,
and which is a good card in Arena.
And yeah, which is an okay card in Arena, and then it's going to have upside sometimes depending on when you draw it. So maybe it is a 4.
Yeah, I think if you talked yourself up to that, I'm not going to talk you down.
So that's and I hate the card.
Yeah.
So it's.
Okay. And we did mean to mention that there was a hotfix because specifically Doomsayer wasn't being picked up with Zephrys, and that was a really big deal. I'm kind of wondering if we're going to see more of these hotfixes, especially for the next couple of weeks, because like. They said with this hotfix they don't want to train Zephrys on many specific interactions, which is smart. But I'm wondering if it's just going to counteract what the card should be for professional play.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like the Super Collider example, right?
Right.
That's a thing where it needs to give you weapon removal for that. That is the thing you are trying to remove.
Yeah.
And if it's going to look at it just like as a 1/5 weapon, and that's the other thing that's kind of weird about this is that it's looking at the board state, but it's not looking at any of the card text. And so how often is it going to give you exactly what you need? I mean, if it's lethal, it's lethal, right? So maybe you don't care, but
it'll be interesting to see how it develops for sure. The next card is Octosari. I was hoping to have more opinions on this card than I unfortunately do because I've been playing with too much other stuff. But it's an 8-mana 8/8 beast with Death Rattle, draw 8 cards. Some people have been playing this with. I was glad that there was at least mixed reviews on this card because at first I think a lot of people were just saying it was trash. I thought drawing 8 cards for an aggressive deck is really, really good, and I know it's doing it really slowly. But that's probably fair, and if it works out, it could just give you giving you a full hand is pretty insane. So I feel like it's a fairly balanced card. I don't know where really. I think the one list I saw high legend was like a priest.
That was No Hands Gamer. I think.
Yeah, that's right. Who was playing it? I mean, but even there, I think that they're just throwing it in because they want to prove that it's good. It's not because it actually is good.
Yeah, I mean, I got this in Golden.
Yeah, of course you did.
Yeah, of course I did, because that's what's gonna happen, right? It's very pretty.
Yeah.
I played it once. It wasn't. I burned half the cards that I drew, and I don't know. There's probably a use case for this. Like maybe you do put it in like a deck that's just gonna run out of stuff, and then you generally want to draw 8 cards,
or like Anka the Buried.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time thinking about it.
I'd want to give it a 2. Like I think there's potential.
I've been unimpressed with it. I've tried to play it because it's in Golden and it's pretty.
Yeah.
And I've been very unimpressed with it. So I think it's probably a 2. And it's a 3 in Arena because it's going to be an 8-mana 8/8. By the time that you get to play it, you'll probably be happy to draw the 8 cards. You're probably in top deck mode anyway. But I don't think you generally want to be playing an 8-mana 8/8 that doesn't affect the board if you can help it.
Yeah. Okay.
So Blatant Decoy is a 6-mana 5/5 Death Rattle. Each player summons the lowest cost minion from their hand. So I actually have seen this in a big Shaman list, which kind of makes sense, right?
That's where it makes sense. Yeah.
Like if all your minions are huge, and this is the smallest one, then okay, then it's like another Eureka, or like an Ancestor's Call. An Ancestor's Call is played in Wild in Big Shaman.
Sure.
I think that's a pretty narrow use case because Big Shaman's not very good right now. So it's probably a 2, but it has uses.
Yeah. Like, just because a card can be used, the question then becomes, should it be used? And like, it's a downside that you're summoning something for your opponent, especially in that mid game. They may only have one minion in their hand, and it might be a mountain giant or something like that, you know?
Yeah, and it's not like you can control when it goes off, right? Like your opponent can play around it, or at least like I mean, I've had like Death Lords played against me in Wild when I was playing like Aviana combo Druid, right? And like I just ignored them, you know? It's like, and this you can ignore even more easily because it's doing 5 damage to you, but it doesn't have taunt, right? So yeah, it's probably a 2 in constructed, and it's probably a 2 in arena, honestly.
I think so. That is right. Next one here is Body Wrapper, 4 mana, 4/4. Battle Cry, discover a friendly minion that died this game, shuffle it into your deck. This is one of those cards that really doesn't feel like it does anything, but I feel like there's some way to take advantage of this. And it's not now, for sure, but like that this effect potentially could be strong down the line.
I will expect this to see as long as we have a specialist. I will not be surprised to see this in a specialist sideboard for Control Warrior to get a chance at getting Elysiana.
Oh, because you just play it after. Holy cow! Jeez, I didn't think about that. But you're right.
Yeah.
This is the new. Well, you've got.
I don't know that. I mean, it's a long shot.
It is. That's
right?
the thing. You've had a lot of minions die the game, so you have to get pretty lucky in order for that to work. So maybe not. But
I mean, it's a better plan than like holding on to the coin all game for a panda, right? So it's like, you know, and I like in a quest warlock where you're just trying to get like more things and more, you know, specific things into your deck. Like that, I'm surprised I haven't seen this more in that use case. Honestly, like even like. You know, I don't like anything that's like a resurrect creature. You're not going to play this because you don't want a 4/4 in your res pool. But if like there's any like significant battle cry minion or any minion that is, or, you know, has some sort of a powerful effect that you want to get multiple times, I can see using this. I think that it might be something like, well, even Big Shaman, you don't want this. I don't know. It's weird because like the decks where you want this. You don't want something like this polluting the pool.
Right, it's kind of Psychopomp-ish.
It's weird, but I think somebody will figure. I think we just haven't had time to figure out how to use this yet. But I think that this will get there.
It's probably a 3.
I think so. Yeah.
In arena, probably a 2. Does it?
It's a 3. It's a 4 mana 4/4. It's probably a 3. But you know.
Yeah, and I guess it potentially gives you some late game or something like that. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. History buff is a 3 mana 3/4. Whenever you play a minion, give a random minion in your hand +1/+1. I've seen this in Zoo. It seems okay. You know, I mean, hand buffing is not amazing, but if you're or like in like a quest hunter or something like that, where you're just playing a lot of minions out from hand, like if you have like something like a Halazi could get kind of ridiculous with this.
Oh my gosh, I didn't think about that. That's scary.
Yeah, that's why you keep me around because I think of all these stupid like ridiculous interactions.
Yeah.
But you know, I've seen it more in arena. In arena, it's pretty strong because you just have like a lot of those like dinky little minions, and then you get to make them a little bit better. Yeah. It's a fine. It's probably 3s across the board. It's fine. It's not fantastic, but it's not bad.
It's the fact that it's asking you to do something that you want to do, which is play minions. You know, so it makes sense that it'd be in those Zoo lists. I haven't gotten to mess around with it yet, but I think 3s are pretty fair. It's probably not the ideal broken card that you want, but sometimes you get enough upside that it makes sense, and it was a good choice. Next one here is Volpera Scoundrel, 3 mana 2/3, Battle Cry, discover a spell or pick a mystery choice. And you know what that mystery choice could be? It could even be a spell.
I'm just thinking of like, do you ever watch Let's Make a Deal as a kid?
Oh yeah.
And like, you know, would you like what are these choices or what's behind curtain number 3?
That's
it's
exactly
always like a donkey in a bathtub.
Yep. And it could be. So like this is the only discover where you'll actually have 4 options. So you'll see 3 spells, and they could be spells from any class. And then the 4th option on that discover menu is mystery choice, and it will give you a random spell. I don't know actually if it excludes the ones that you saw or not.
I don't think I've ever gotten one of the ones that I've seen from.
Okay.
I crafted one of these.
Did
by
you
the
really?
way.
Okay, so you've
Yeah.
probably played more of it than I have, but it is seeing a lot of play, like
Yeah.
in Quest Rogue and in Battlecry Shaman even.
Yeah. Yeah.
The downside of stats really aren't that bad, especially like that fourth option really is just a reroll. Like I would say
It's basically like these all suck. Give me anything else.
which is great. Like the fact
Yeah.
that you just have that as an option. Like there are times where you discover and you're like, I really don't want any of these, and so that mystery choice, it's better, hopefully, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Or at least it's like not one of the other ones. So yeah, it's fine. I mean, it's good. It's good in Battlecry Shaman is where I've played it the most, and it you know it gives you stuff. I've gotten earthquakes off of it that have been relevant. You know, so. I mean, discovering a spell is generally pretty powerful because, I mean, we've seen that from Ethereal Lackey, right?
oh
like,
gosh, Ethereal Lackey, yeah.
you know, I mean, like, would you just put an Ethereal Lackey in your deck? I would.
Yeah.
I'd pay 3 mana for that. You're paying 3 mana for it anyway if you're getting it off an Evil Cable Rat. Or even like a Sludge Slurper, you're paying 3 mana for it because you're paying that 2 mana over 2 turns for the Sludge Slurper,
Right.
and then you're paying the 1 mana for the Ethereal Lackey, and the stats are fine too. So from that perspective, like,
I think it's
if
a
you
4.
could pay, yeah, I think it's a 4 too. And in both formats, I think.
In Arena, it can be just as good.
Yeah. Oh boy, Generous Mummy, 3 mana, 3/4. Oh, you have Dwarven Archaeologist.
Yeah, I think we may have missed one on here. So
did we miss one? Okay, yeah, that might be the spreadsheet messing up again. Okay, so Dwarven Archaeologist is a 2 mana 2/3. After you discovered a card, reduce its cost by 1. Sure. I like. Are you really putting that many discovers in your deck to be able to get enough value out of putting this card in your deck? I don't think you are.
Discover Mage.
Oh gosh,
that's not a thing.
No, it's not.
Yeah, I don't think this card is ever going to see play. Honestly, it's.
I mean, in Arena it will. 'Cause it's a 2 mana 2/3.
Sure, like it's.
So it's probably a 3 in Arena. It's probably like a 1 in Constructed. Like you would need to have a lot of discover effects, and like even like Burgle Rogue has a fair amount, and it's not seeing play there.
Yeah. Sounds good. Okay, next one here is Generous Mummy, the one that you were getting so excited about. 3 mana 5/4 with Reborn. Your opponent's cards cost 1 less. Now, you know why this card is no less than a 4 in Constructed?
Oh boy,
because
I feel like a dad joke's coming on.
No, actually it's more of a actual thing, which is Treachery Warlock in Wild, which runs this card so that you give it to your opponent and you enable Mogu Cultist as a combo.
Oh my god!
I saw Saucy Mailman play it. I saw Rod Johnston play it, and it's like a real thing.
So it's like 10. So it's 10. Okay, so let's slow down a little bit. So Treachery. So Treachery is a 3 mana spell,
right?
That gives a minion to your opponent.
Yes.
And then you play. So you play this, then you play that, and then so you give this to your opponent. Now all your cards cost 1 less. Presumably there's been an Emperor tick around here somewhere.
Yeah, I think.
And then you play Glinda, and
I
then
think
you,
it's Glinda.
Well, no, you can't play
Mogu.
Glinda. But if you play Glinda, how are you killing off the Glinda to fill the 7th slot?
Well, there are tons of ways you can do that with Grim Rally. You can do it with.
But then you don't. But you
Dark
both,
Pact. I think Dark Pact is what they're doing it with.
Does the Echo copy stay in your hand after Glinda dies?
It does, or you use your second copy.
Okay.
Either
that's
way.
the one part that I was actually thinking that the Echo version would go away as soon as Glinda died.
I think that that's what we thought beforehand, but I mean the second copy does negate that at least. So
okay.
It's kind of an offshoot, like, and can't really happen. And I'm giving way too much airtime to it, but it's because it's the only way that this card will ever get played. It's zeros across the board, honestly. Like, just don't ever, 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 ever play it if you get it off a random Reborn effect in your hand.
And be careful when you're evolving stuff into 3-drops.
Oh my
basically.
gosh, yeah. I think that I did have an opponent evolve into this for me, and it was good.
I mean, I guess Silence Priest is a thing, but it feels like Silence Priest is going to want more value than 5/4 for 3.
Yeah. There are better ways to do it than this. So,
yeah. Okay. So, see, now I'm waiting for it to show up on the stream because now I don't trust my spreadsheet anymore.
I think the rest of these are right.
Okay. Sunstruck Henchman is a 4-mana 6/5. At the start of your turn, this has a 50% chance to fall asleep, which is basically the same as when you first summon the minion. Again, maybe Silence Priest can use this. Silence Priest is in a deck right now.
There's better stuff in this too.
Yeah, you can get better stats in this.
Yeah.
So I think it's a 1, and it's like it's probably like a 2 in Arena just because the stats are good enough. You might take the chance on it, but like it doesn't have taunt. If it falls asleep, it's basically just sitting there.
So I mean, but in a Silence Priest, you'll run Sunfury Protector, and so if you give it taunt, then that's fine. But I'm with you that it's a 1 and a 2 for sure. Next one is a really cool card. Like, this might be my vote for coolest card of the set. Conjured Mirage is a 4-mana 3/10 with taunt. Boy, are those some stats. The effect here, though, is at the start of your turn, shuffle this minion into your deck. So I really see this as like a soft, neutral ice block, where it's able to just halt the game. If your opponent can't get through this, it's going back into your deck so you can use it later. You won't be able to attack with this, so really it's just a matter of putting 10 health on the board and forcing your opponent to deal with it, either inefficiently or with some removal card that you are happy about because you wanted to, you have some other minion that really needs to be protected. So I think this is just a really strong card overall.
Yeah, I mean, I've only seen it once. I saw it in a Quest Warlock, which I think is the right place for it.
Oh, interesting.
And because you're
get this off of Dorian? Get this with Dorian and Plot Twist, and then it shuffles back in? Oh, man.
Yeah, or
it probably doesn't, though.
I guess with Betrug, it dies at the end of the turn, so that doesn't help you.
Yeah.
But, I mean, what this does in that deck specifically is that kind of puts you in the position where you need to, or I mean, it's not even that deck specifically. It's any card sort of a slow deck. You're going to start running into this more and more, and you have to kind of kill it eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't, then what your opponent gets to do is, as they keep drawing through their deck, more and more they're going to keep putting this thing out there, and they're just making you deal with it over and over again, or freezing you out. And then you have to just kind of waste the minions to trade through it. Like, normally you would try to wait for removal. You can't necessarily do that with this.
Yeah.
There's not really any way to abuse it aside from silencing it, I guess. But and again, in a Silence Priest, like this is more what a Silence Priest would want.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the health is so big that you can hit it with Inner Fire.
It reminds me of the Piranha from Journey to Ungoro.
Yeah, the plant.
Yeah. It's too late.
Yeah. But I think this has potential. I think we just haven't figured out how to use it yet. I think it's probably stronger than it seems, honestly. And it's probably a 4.
Yeah. I think that's fair. In Arena it's probably
a 2.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna get 1 turn out of it on average, I would say. Maybe 2. It
can slow down your opponent, but yeah, I think 2 is fair.
It is like a Frost Nova, basically.
Yeah.
Cartoon Defender is a 6-mana 3/4 Taunt Reborn Death Rattle, restore 3 health to your hero. This is seeing a fair amount of play, especially in Quest Paladin, but also in other decks because it heals you for 3 twice, and then if you can revive it, even better. I mean, I don't think there's a lot to say about this. This is 4s across the board, I would say. It's a little bit expensive, but it's worth it.
Yeah. I have played a lot of that Paladin deck, and you just make another one of these, and if you're way behind, it allows you to get a lot of health and maybe get back on board. It's actually, and now that I think about it, maybe I don't play it quite as much, but you said 4s across the board?
Yeah.
I think that's probably right.
I don't think it's a 5 because it is expensive and sometimes a little bit awkward.
I think that actually the times where that Paladin deck has really taken off is when I've got a lot of really cheap minions. I mean, I way undervalued Micro Mummy. Like, when I have a board of 4 of those with Taunt and Lifesteal,
well, yeah.
I'm doing some stuff. I'm making stuff happen,
yes.
So,
yes, having 4 Ziliaxes, yes.
that's exactly what it is, though.
It has nothing to do with the fact that you're giving Ziliax Reborn is valuable, yes. But it's not, you don't have 4 Micro Mummies. You have 4 Ziliaxes that happen to have been given Reborn.
Yep. So yeah, I think 4s across the board is perfectly fine here. Next one here is Wrapped Golem, 7 mana 7/5 with Reborn. At the end of your turn, summon a 1/1 Scarab with Taunt. I had pretty low thoughts about this. You've seen it more than I have, so I'll defer to you on it.
I mean, it was obnoxious when I played against that one game, but if I had, it's annoying because you have to kill it twice, and the taunts get in the way. If you have any sort of hard removal or a silence, then it doesn't matter, and it's just that the 1/1 gets in the way of it. But I think it's so slow. Like there's better ways. I mean, the other thing is that even in that deck, like, you need the space on the board and the 1/1 start taking up room.
Oh, sure.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's like you don't necessarily even want those on the board, beyond a certain point. And it's very slow. Yeah. In Arena, this is obnoxious. And I think that it's a very good card in Arena because it can stick and because your opponent's very unlikely to have the hard removal at that late point in the game.
It's probably a 2 and a 4.
So, yep, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Okay. Nice.
So Quicksand Elemental is a 2-mana 3/2 elemental. Battlecry, give all enemy minions -2 attack this turn. My feelings on Pint-Size Potion are not a secret. That is one of my all-time favorite cards for priests in general. And now we have this as a neutral ability. You don't really have the cards to take advantage of it in Standard right now. It's really just Shadow Word Pain and Cabal Shadow Priest. But if we do get, I mean, I guess you can use like Crazed Alchemist or whatever to flip it. If we do get something else like a Void Ripper or a or anything else that can take advantage of, or like a Potion of Madness, something like that. I guess Shadow Madness works with this too.
Yeah.
I kind of want to play. I kind of want to build that now.
I'm surprised you haven't, honestly. Because
I'm surprised I haven't either. I forgot
you.
about this because I got so distracted with everything else.
That's totally fair.
But I think this is a piece that is not flashy on its own, but it enables a lot of archetypes or a lot of other cards to be useful in a way that is not available otherwise. So I think this is a 4. I don't think we really have a lot of super great support for it. Oh yeah, Bodicus in the chat is pointing out Masihara is another one that is also that's also reasonable. So I don't think we have a ton of support for it right now, but I think we have enough that it's useful. And I think if we get more, then this will become way better. It's nice to have this tool available again.
Yeah. I think in Arena, it can be really strong too, because you're just making more efficient trades there, even if you don't have all the synergies and stuff. And as a 2-mana 3/2, it's perfectly fine. So I think it's a 4 there too, probably.
Yeah, and I mean, and I mean, like, even sometimes just depowering the board to get value trades is good enough.
Yeah.
Like I was playing that Mechathune Warlock, and I was surprised how much work Curse of Weakness was doing. Like, I mean, granted that's an echo, you're doing it multiple times. But, like, I was surprised, like, I was able to, like, play that 3 or 4 times, and it was basically like a timeout for Warlock. Just because they couldn't do anything, and I could either play a Doomsayer or just, like, okay, your turn, just to get through those last couple turns. So, this is only once, but even then, sometimes that's enough to just, enable a couple of value trades and get rid of some minions you wouldn't otherwise. But you need to have other support in your deck for it.
Yeah. Cool. Next one here is Living Monument, 10 mana, 10/10 with Taunt. I got this off a Frightened Flunky once, and it was fine. That's my review.
I mean, you're not putting it in your deck, but you'll take it off of a random effect sometimes, which is, that's a 2, right? Yeah. Like that's, you don't want to be going out of your way to put a 10 mana 10/10 Taunt into your deck. I don't even think Big Shaman wants this.
No, it just doesn't have the upside of stuff like Colossus of the Moon or anything. Like, the Taunt is fine, and I wasn't too upset to see it off the Flunky, but it's a 2 and a 3 for sure. I don't think we need to say much more.
Yep. Pit Crocolisk is, first of all, difficult to say.
It's accurate.
It is an 8 mana 5/6 battle. It's a beast. Battlecry, deal 5 damage. We had a card, so we had different opinions of what this card was equivalent to. I forget what yours was. Mine was North Sea Kraken, which was like the quintessential arena common. Because it was an auto pick in arena, and it was never played in constructed. And that was like 9/7 and deals 4 damage, I think.
No, I feel like it was more than that.
I don't.
No, you might be right. Anyway.
I
When I saw this, what I immediately thought is that in Battlecry Shaman, you use your hero power, and it's a 5/6 that does Pyroblast.
Which is true, except for the fact that like the cards that you're looking for in Battlecry Shaman are generally way cheaper than this.
Yes.
Like I was playing Giggling Inventor and I cut it because it was too expensive.
Oh,
like,
really?
Yeah.
Dude, that thing was so annoying to play against. The questions
Yeah,
that I played against.
And you would think that getting 4/1/2 Divine Shield taunts would be worth it, and it is not.
Wow.
Because it's actually like really awkward to play because it's a 9-drop at that point. And what you're also like, you have kind of two phases to the deck, and one is that you just need to get the quest done ASAP. And a 7-drop ruins that, and an 8-drop would ruin that even more. And then later, like, you have to be able to play the hero power speed. You're not playing this till 10, and like, yeah, it's a Pyroblast, but you can also just like, you're also getting like 4 damage out of lackeys and 6 damage out of weaponized wasps. So like 10 damage is, yes, it's more, but it's not that much more. And like,
yeah, that's fair.
You know, you could even play like fire elementals if you wanted to, right? Like, it's not, it feels like it would be good, but it's like all the cards that are in that deck are cost like 4 or less mostly. Like, I even cut Barista Lynching.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because like I was finding that like I didn't have room in my hand and I couldn't like get her down with the hero power to ever matter. So like it's weird because of the way that it works, but yeah, this is way too heavy.
I will still build a Battlecry Shaman and put one of these in it and hit Legends so that I can say Pit Crocolisk is OP.
That's fair.
But outside of that, I mean, it's a 3.
It's a 2. It's a 2 and a 5, I think.
There's some upside with that Battlecry that I think warrants it at 3 still.
I think if you were going to see it as I can't think of a deck that you're going to put that in. It's not Battlecry Shaman for sure. Maybe you put that in like a mid-range hunter, but even then that seems really heavy too. And like, you know, it's like, where does it fit, right? Like, that's the problem. Like, and that's why I go back to Northsea Kraken, right?
Sure,
because Northsea Kraken was the same thing. It was heavy and it was big stats and it was a big ability and it was never seen in Constructed, but it was a hero of Arena. Okay. I think it's a 5 in Arena.
I'll
but
go
I think
with
it's a 2 in Constructed.
2 and 5 is fine.
Yeah.
This one me?
Yes.
Yes. So Wasteland Scorpid is a 7-mana 3/9 beast with poisonous, and that's all it is. I don't see any reason to play this. It's just going to come off
we got Mixna back. We did it.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a 1 in Constructed. It might even be a 0. Like, I just don't know why you ever play it in Arena. Like, it's okay. It's got a lot of health and it'll trade into several minions, so it's fairly decent.
It's an Arena common.
Yeah.
It's 1 and 3. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Faceless Lurker is a 5-mana 3/3 taunt battle cry, double this minion's health. So if you are specifically doing ham buff shenanigans, probably with In the Fray and
Armageddillo,
then this is great. But and I guess you take this off of Fright and Flunky sometimes. But other than that, like, you're not going to be building around that. Like, you're not going to be building around ham buffing taunts. Yeah. Because there just aren't enough effects to do that.
Well, so with a card like this, you have to ask what the baseline is, and the baseline is that it's a Fen Creeper. So
it's a 5-mana 3/6, which is fine, but it's not something you're going out of your way to put in a constructed deck.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Like, how often you could put Fen Creeper in a constructed deck and you're not doing it, and you could have done that before and you weren't doing it. If it was a mech, you might consider it, but it's not a mech.
If Taunt Warrior becomes something outside of Control Warrior, I think that this is a quick add-in because you're abusing more of the buff mechanics in that.
You need to have more buff mechanics than we have. You have 3 right now, right? Like, you need to have more than those in order to make it worth it.
I think that there's some potential with this. I want to say 3s across the board, mostly fighting for the future, that because this is starting off as a vanilla classic card, there's potential that it could be something more. So
yeah, okay. All right. I'll take that argument.
Thanks. It's getting late, so I know I know we don't have many arguments left in us. This one is Phalanx Phalanx?
Phalanx, I think, is how you pronounce it.
I failed the links on this one. Phalanx Commander, 5 mana, 4/5. Your taunt minions have +2 attack. So if Taunt Warrior won't play this, I don't know what will. It's
Warsong Commander as a 4/5, sure. Yeah.
Too soon?
I don't think I don't. I mean, I appreciate the soul of the card, but no. We're not playing
something,
that.
But it's not anything. So it's like a 1 and a 2 probably.
Yeah, I mean the stats are like below average for Arena. You might pick it, but you're not happy about it.
Yeah.
Cobalt Sand Trooper is a 2 mana 2/1. Death Rattle, deal 3 damage to the enemy hero. So it's a slightly bigger Leper Gnome. We're not playing Leper Gnome right now. We're probably not playing this. But it's an option.
When I was thinking about this card today, I was thinking like in a Face Hunter deck, would you play Necro Mechanic in this? Like just to keep trying to deal damage?
I mean, you're going to play bombs before you're going to play this, right? Like,
yeah.
Do you have room for that? Because you're going to play
damage.
You're going to play Whirly
Glider,
whatever, like the 2/1 that drops a bomb.
Whirly Glider.
Before you're going to put this, Whirly Glider. Before you're going to put this in your deck because the bomb is a mech.
Sure.
And you can magnetize onto it. I don't think that you're really going to care about the death rattle because that's not the death rattle you're ever really targeting with something like a 9 lives or a fireworks tech. Anyway, you can't even fireworks tech this.
Sure, yeah, that's true.
So yeah, I think it's a 1 and a 2.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. And Spitting Camel is a 2 mana 2/4 beast. At the end of your turn, deal 1 damage to another random friendly minion. I'm glad we at least got 1 camel out of the desert.
Yeah. You know what though? I got this in Golden and it doesn't spit.
And I'm very outrageous. Disappointed. That is absolutely outrageous.
That is a -5. Like, how on earth do you have Spitting Camel and not have it spitting in the animation? I understand we need to make the minions not as animated as the spells, but come on, it's spitting and it's not even trying. It's not even moving its mouth.
I think there's maybe some potential with like a Frothing Berserker or something. Like there's some ways that you can take advantage of this, but it's going to be tough.
I mean, the problem is that you generally don't want to wait till the end of your turn to do it. You don't want it to be on a random minion because there are generally minions that you want to damage and minions you don't want to damage.
Yeah, that's true.
And you have Inner Rage and Cruel Taskmaster that do that with giving you a benefit out of it. So and even Inspire Morale I would be playing, or Improve Morale. I would keep calling it that. Improve Morale I would play before this because at least you get a lackey out of it. Like this is pretty low. Like you have enough ways to damage your own minions and this is really low on the priority list.
Yeah, it's true. It's probably 1.
I mean, it's a 2 mana 2/4. That's what it has going for it. Yeah. But so maybe in Arena you'll take that. But yeah, it's a 1 and a 2.
What was the other camel that was like
Desert Camel? That's something to 1-drop for each out of each player's deck.
Yeah, it just makes me miss that. So
yeah.
All right.
We all miss Desert Camel, but now they're going to miss us very soon, but not after we talk about one more special card.
And not after I bring you the song that I wrote literally in the middle of our stream because Steve reminded me, hey, do we have a card of the week? Of course we do. Wink, wink. So here you go. Here's my introduction. And Steve, even on a whim, I'm gonna try and like meet you in your efforts here. Okay.
I mean, at least whatever you do with your song, it will not mute the audio in the YouTube video like mine did. So
are you sure about that?
Already. Oh, okay. Fair enough. I will sit here quietly.
Oh, I need to start it again because I didn't know where it was going to go. I never knew that everything was scaring you. Everything in this pyramid was waiting to jump on you. You want to turn and run when all I needed were some gems. So you're gonna listen to me. You aren't going to halt this act of thievery. You'll get back in that corridor and make them see. No, wait, come back. You can't just up and leave. I should have known. Frightened flunky, I knew you were in over your head. This master plan's going down the drain. At least you gave me our mega dillo. That's what I got. Okay, so what we have is Frightened Flunky, a 2-mana 2/2 with Taunt and Battlecry. Discover a Taunt minion. This card is so good. And by the way, do you remember Stonehill Defender? No one does. This card's even better. It's not better, but it's still really, really strong. So I'm all about it. Getting our Megadillo or 2 Morden are fine. They're just insane on their own. I've had plenty of times where I play this and I get something like the Kartut Defender or the what's the 6-mana 4/5 with Divine Shield and Taunt? Shield Bearer, I think. Or no, that's the 0/4 with Taunt. Anyway, there's just so much that you can get off of this. It's stupid. And having something early that you can play that's at least a little bit proactive is exactly what you want. So I don't know how this card is in 5s across the board. Shaggy needs to get his act together because he's way better than he looks in this art. So
yeah, I mean it's Shaggy. That's good. Like, I mean it's being run in every Control Warrior. Like it's a no-brainer, right? Like we played Stonehill Defender and that was good, and this is just as good. It just happens to be a 2/2 instead of a 1/4, which is fine, right? Like it doesn't matter. Yeah. It's still a taunt. It's going to give you a taunt minion, and it's going to be in Warriors the class that should have it. So yeah, it's probably a 5.
It's easily 5s across the board. It's just it's maybe too good, honestly. Like as long as 2 more than our Megadillo are in that pool, and especially now where you have a higher chance of getting them, it's just insanity. So it's maybe the easiest 5s across the board we've ever had. I don't know if that's accurate, but it is good.
Yeah, we had some. I don't know. We had some priest cards.
What did we give Ziliax? I wonder what we gave Ziliax.
I probably a 4, I would guess.
Yeah, 4 is probably about
probably
right.
Because it was just like it wasn't clear at the time like how stupid it was. But it had a lot of keywords on it, and so it seemed good. So I don't think we would have given it less than a 4.
Yeah. Okay, well, Steve, we made it. My goodness.
We did it.
This is a fun set, and man, these cards are interesting. I can't believe that the meta is so out of whack right now, like in a good way, as far as like most everything. Like I trust, like you said, that we are going to see some kind of shift in the next, like after this Masters Tour in Seoul. And probably post that will be one of the best, hopefully, that we've seen in a while. But even now, things are really fun. I don't have too many complaints, except when my opponent gets, Mountain Giant and Conjurers on 6. So,
yeah, I mean, the things that were still not fun about the last meta are still there, but I think that they'll fix those. They've been pretty good about that, and I think that even with that, there have been enough different decks and enough different play patterns that it's still been fun even with that. So yeah, I think this is. I mean, we've had these kinds of middle of the road sets where we've been saying things like, "Well, we have all these toys that we can't actually play with," and this doesn't feel like that. It feels like there's a lot of options, and it doesn't feel like they're not viable, which is what's important. Yeah. So, yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, we're going to wrap it up quick because I know it's super late for Steve. And if you've been hanging in here for all these hours, I mean, my head was hurting beforehand, but now I need to be reborn once more. So just thank you so much for being here. Those of you who joined us on Twitch Chat Live, those of you joining on YouTube either for the first time or as faithful listeners, and those of you who are listening on whatever podcast app you listen to, it really means a lot. I'm super thankful. And we didn't really do like a sponsor break because all I kind of wanted to push and let you know about is the newsletter that I have for the Happy Hearthstone. If you enjoy this show and you want to stay in touch, it's one of the best ways to do that. I'll just drop you an email the day after anything hits, whether it's new content I'm making for the Patreon, new podcast episode, new blog post. And just by being on that list, you are entering yourself into a drawing each month for 7 packs of your choice. So if you like free packs, and who doesn't, It's a free way to just get on there, and that's at the happyhearthstone.com/newsletter. You can go and sign up for that. I've even got a free gift for you, which is a list of some of my favorite Twitch streamers to watch and to learn from, so you get that just for signing up. Have to send a huge thank you to the producers of the Happy Hearthstone, Menot, KJ Miller, Brian O, and Mr. Blurry. Thank you so much for being such an integral part of this show. I hope you've enjoyed this this insane review, and just know the fact that you have made this happen in huge ways. So really appreciate connecting with each of you. Looking forward to our coaching and our coaching conversations and stuff like that. Should be really fun this month. And, we don't really have time to go over the 3 iTunes reviews that came through. I got a couple international ones that come at the end of the month. So I'll read those on the next episode. But if you enjoy the show, please consider going over on iTunes or Apple Podcasts and leaving a review to let other people know what you like about the show. And I'll just tell you, the happyhearthstone.com is where you can find everything related to me. You can follow me on Twitter at AndrewIsLiving, and you can go support the show over on Patreon at patreon.com/thehappyhearthstone and get some great perks like joining the Inner Fire, being a part of a team that's really helping to grow one another in their skills every single day. Okay, Steve, it's going to be a few months till I see you again, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, unless we just decide to just go crazy, which sometimes we like to go crazy. So
we have. It's happened before. We could do it again. But stranger things have happened.
That's very true.
You know what you get possessed in the tombs, and things happen.
You're doing stuff. So, but regardless, how can we stay in touch with you in the meantime until next time we see you?
So you can come over and listen to my show Off Curve, which I normally record from my car, though, as is tradition. After I do this, I'm still not done talking about the new set somehow, because I get the only other person who can talk for as long as the two of us is, which is Ridiculous Hat from Coin Concede. And then he comes on, and we have a Todoist project with over 100 deck lists in it right now that we're going to pare down to something between 50 and 100 and talk somewhere and talk about all of the decks that are relevant in the meta and where they're positioned and how you play them. And it's a kind of a whirlwind tour of where the first week of the meta shakes out. That's always a really fun episode. So please come over to offcurve.com and listen to that as well. It's kind of the epilogue to this card review. And you can stay for the hot takes from my car as I'm driving home from work. I also do some casting. I will be casting House Rivalries, which is Bemi's tournament that should be starting up in a couple weeks. I do the specialist meta that I'm actually probably going to be working on as soon as we get done with this, because there's no risk for the weary. And you can go find that at offcurve.com/specialist-meta, and links to my Twitch and my Discord and everything else are there. And also you can follow me on Twitter at WickedGood, and I normally post links to all the things that are happening, just like I posted links to us live streaming this card review. So so if you find me from there, then you will find all the other things that I am doing as well. And worst comes to worst, I will be back here in 4 months after my voice has recovered. And we'll do this all over again.
I guess it is December when the next set releases. So until Blizzard. Well, and actually, we've got the single player to look forward to next month. But there's a ton to do right now with all these decks, quests, and everything in between. Yeah. So it's a good time to be alive. Good time to be a Hearthstone player. And Steve, always good to have you on the show. So thank you for being my partner in crime and making this happen and sticking there with me.
It's my honor, and it's my pleasure, and I love doing these episodes. As tiring as they can be, I love doing them, and I look forward to doing the next one.
We typically talk to each other. We typically talk to each other the next day through Discord, some amount of, man, that was crazy. What are you playing? What are you playing today?
I haven't been sick of you after one of these yet.
Well,
so.
I am thankful for that, if nothing else. Well, thank you so much, man. It's always good hanging out with you. And hey, thank you so much for visiting the Happy Hearthstone, sticking it out with us for the entire Saviors of Uldum reviews, and having a little fun with us. We'll see you next time.
Bye.